1, 2, 3 audio. Looks good. How's it going? Oh my God, it's an absolute ice box outside. It is cold here in the Northeast. Got that Arctic blast coming through. All right, where's my VOD live stream? Come on, there it is. Pop out that chat. I don't have to think about anything else. Oh, I'm a little under the weather. That or just I ate something bad for me. I don't know which one it is. Probably a little bit of both. Okay, so we're back at QMK. I don't remember anything about quick mechanical keyboard. We did a whole thing of it. I got the initial keyboard working, and then I immediately forgot everything else about QMK. I don't remember if we had a special IDE to program it or what. We got a couple things to do today. Hopefully we get to the point where this thing works. I think we'll get there. I'm about to sneeze. Hold on a sec. Oh my God, there we go. Oh, I guess that one was pretty good. Whew. Look at disheveled, no bother. How we doing, man? Are we doing okay? Did we get the right buttons on the shirt? Check the bottom. Yes, we did. Okay, good. I did that the other day. That's like the ultimate like sign that I'm out of it is when I button down the front of my shirt, because I always do. I don't like doing the grunge, shirt flaps flapping around. I always button it down, go full flannel. But when I mess it up and I'm off by one button, something's up. I haven't done a Tuesday in a little while. Interesting. Interesting. Stream's healthy? Stream's healthy? No YouTube viewers, of course. Wait, why do I have a 1 next to my name on... Uh-oh, did somebody leave a comment? No. Somebody maybe left a comment and it got deleted. There we go. Doobie Tuesday. What's up, Trey Pop? How you doing? Yeah, I don't know. My ears aren't popping for some reason now. I don't know what's going on with that. I guess you got atmospheric pressure doing weird stuff. My skeleton hasn't hurt, so it's not like a thunderstorm. What is up with that? The atmospheric pressure changes and then your skeleton starts to hurt? Your wet skeleton? Yes, sure. We're going to work on this for a little bit. Now, this is actually the second one. We could do a little bit of soldering on this one, the one that we left off, and then come back to installing this, because I have 2 keyboards that this stuff is going to go into, and I mean, as tempted as I am to do another revision, so that it just uses the RP2040, I really need to get these up and running and figure out if there are any mistakes on the boards that would need correcting. Just got out of the cold for a bit. Yeah, this is a tough cold. I like cold, right? I like cold. I like it when it's cold out. I enjoy getting dressed up in a nice winter coat, going outside and seeing your breath. But this stuff is brutal. This is a dry cold of Arctic air coming down into the Northeast, and damn, it's rough out there. This is the kind of cold where your face hurts in a light breeze, and there is a light breeze. Well, there was a heavy breeze yesterday. A lot of people are without power. I printed a front piece for the mixer. So here it is, the mixer. It doesn't look like a lot, but it is. It's a lot of technology, and there's a lot more work that I need to do in the background to get this thing running, because the plus and minuses to the potentiometers need to be flipped, which is a major overhaul because this is a 2-layer board. So that means major trace rerouting. Hopefully I can get away with it and it's not too much work, because other than that, this seems to work. I don't know if these are exponential. They're kind of not. So they get very sensitive right at the top. You can turn it down all day, but at the top it gets real sensitive. I don't know. And, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this one to Julian, let him evaluate it for a little while, under the premise that, if he has trouble with this spacing and the power thing, I will change that. If he has trouble with the spacing and these clips on the edges, I will change that. and then it's going to be a major overhaul for the board. Doing the cutouts on the edges and moving the power thing in just like a couple millimeters is going to be a huge deal. And that's just simply to avoid the key, the nub on the IDC connector from hitting stuff on the side. What up, Mahalo? 28 when I started working outside this morning. 18 here. 18 with a wind chill. Ooh, nasty stuff, huh? I was taking Willow for a walk and she was completely comfortable out there. I don't know what it is. She's a fluffy corgi, so she has a lot of extra fur. And I guess she has 2 layers of this stuff to help out. So she was not showing any signs at all of being cold. I made a jig to help me build these Flexi boards. Essentially just a cheapo Amazon clamp, and then the back end of an old NVIDIA, a blown out NVIDIA graphics card. The NVIDIA graphics card was built so that it was long enough to get all the way out to the, what is it, ISA slot hangers? The cards in computers used to be like a full standard where they actually did support it. And the technology and the coolers for the cards were light enough that you could actually utilize that front. Well, what happened was they utilized the front for like through-hole stuff because technology was big and you could build your custom board that would plug into the computer, and then you could do like almost physical computing with it. But computers didn't really go quite in that direction, and they ended up using, you know, all kinds of advanced technology, surface mount and things like that. And so the card got lighter, and the justification for that front set of hangers went away. And so the cards got smaller. They preferred to make smaller cards instead of huge ones. And then they started getting back into making larger cards because they got heavier and heavier and it became more of a burden on the slot. But then they decided instead of doing this, they would just make the cards small and super heavy, and they would reinforce the slot. And a lot of these aren't very good solutions. You know, people have had to make little stands for their graphics cards in the computer so it doesn't sag down. And God forbid you ever ship a computer somewhere, it's going to blow up on the way. So you really need to kind of brace everything as it sort of partially unplugs itself. So anyway, I have, you can keep that, yeah. Honestly, I have so many hours in the mixer board. But so anyway, in order to build the Flexi PCB, we had to tape it down to something, and I needed something that wasn't as temperature sensitive as this and as cooling as the aluminum. So I cut the back off of this old graphics card that I have in all my parts bins. I kind of veered to the side a little bit. I should put this on the sander and even it out. But now I've got this FR4 workstation, so I can tape this to here and move it around. I flipped the vice jaws so that it wasn't the centering one. I have just the shelf one. So as I'm handling this, I'm accidentally popping this partially out and having to push it back down. I might need to flip them around again. Yeah, I have many, I didn't even calculate the number of hours that I have into the first mixer board, but it was a lot. I mean, there's a lot of big trace rip-ups, a lot of big redesigns in order to get everything to fit. This thing was a goddamn pleasure compared. I didn't even use the whole surface of the board that I designed. I should probably have minimized it a little bit. This one's about just getting the circuit to be moderately clean and having it run the keyboard. The next iteration, if there's a big mistake on this board, the next iteration is going to use RP2040 only, and then the crystal will be inherent to that. USB connections, of course, I won't even have a USB slot here. It'll just be the keyboard's USB slot only. But I don't know. At the same time, I hope I don't have to do that because it's a lot of extra work, and I probably should have done that originally. I know, but the only problem is when it has a price tag, like each of these quad op amps are $10 because I wanted to use something that was very capable and match the TL074, but also had a QFN package. I really wish these could have come in QFN. Although if I did the I wonder if I did the slightly smaller 2 fader version of this chip that exists, it's probably more expensive if I source 2 separate chips for this build. But if I did that, would I have been able to make it sort of go in a more logical progression of things? You know, you have all of your buffers, then you have your initial stereo mixes, and then you combine them into your headphone mix, and then your headphone amplifier. But then that, and then this would have been the shorter chip. But this is the output op amp. So this op amp will go down here, and then the shorter one might fit in there. I don't know. You still have an NVIDIA AGP graphics card. Time to make an late 90s computer build. Get yourself a CRT and start playing Descent. 2. Unbelievable that this thing works. I haven't cleaned up the board yet, but the density of this is above and beyond anything that I've ever created before. Luckily, the design worked. These are actually out of spec. What is that resistor doing? What happened? Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. What the hell? Okay, we got to fix that. What the hell is that? Jeez, no wonder they put the components on the inside of the PCB on these types of things. We didn't have that luxury, but I wonder if that was causing problems. Look at that. It was probably when I was soldering to the, well, no, but the volume knobs still work just fine, so I don't know what that resistor is. Oh, you know, this might be one of the protection caps. Command control boards, my model railroad locomotives. Sounds interesting. Yeah, this is a particularly dense 2 HP, 2 horizontal position. Stereo by stereo mixer. I think this is the ESD cap. I think that's what this is. And it's trying to get out of here. What up, Hairbothan? What's that? Wasn't even good for its day. Oh, well. You could still justify a little build off of that. What is happening? No, you betray. Why everybody betray me? Did it lose its pad? It might have lost its pad. Oh, I hate flux. Get off. Yeah, okay, I gotta get that component again. Pretty sure, yeah, that is an ESD cap. Okay, so I gotta get another one because the one side of the chip is missing its pad. Happens when things get wrenched around. So where are those ESD caps? They're not here. F beads. Oh yeah, there. Here we go. I have them out. That's convenient. All right, and I got to clean up. I don't have the micro desolder braid. I used to have a micro desolder braid. Funnily enough, use it all up. Okay, yeah, I'm just looking at my feed. Model trains interest me, but I don't want to fall down that rabbit hole. It is quite a rabbit hole. I have a friend whose dad made a modular train setup and put just so much money into it. And yeah, it's just such a it's another hobby with, you know, people that have lore behind them and different, just a whole world of it out there. Like it is a whole goddamn meal. Like you can jump into electronics and like, oh, I built a little kit with a soldering iron. Hey, that was fun. Model railroads, it's like, where do you want to start? What level? What? It's insane. The model train pipeline will lead you to a garage with a track going all around. You'll spend your entire paycheck on plastic bushes. Yeah, that's the thing about them. Crazy. My dad had a little model railroad that would always live in the attic. And there was one time that I was studying for exams in high school that I got real into repairing it. I even, believe it or not, had a girlfriend at the time. Can you believe that? Model railroads and a girlfriend. I had it all. I had it all. But all I did was resurrect the little one that pretty much already existed. There's some kind of a economy of attention span that somehow thrives under pressure for me. I have not been working on a lot of electronic stuff over the weekend. I sort of severed myself from that in order to keep it fresh. We got to learn QMK, and I don't know the first thing about. I mean, I already got QMK working on my other keyboard, but I forgot what it took. What the hell just happened there? What the? Ooh, all of my anger. I can't get the iron in there to get heat down. And I thought I had soldered the other side, but that's apparently a pipe dream. Let me do a little tiny bit of tacky flux, even though this area is all fluxed up already. Just to help out. Just a little tiny bit of tacky flux in here. This is not the stream. This is just a component that I noticed was damaged. It is related to the ESD protections on this unit because my plugs for the headphones are facing outwards towards the user. And a little bit of ESD protection helps me keep all this technology from getting blowed up. Listening to OTT, this is still his newish album. QMK is just like, see, I just don't remember any of it. I don't remember what we did. I hope I left myself notes, because that was like over a year ago. It's like a console compile, or did I use Arduino for it, or what did I do? How did I get it to compile and go up on the chip? That was, see, you're not supposed to apply the solder to the iron. Memories of C. I remember. There we go. That's a well soldered component. We'll just make sure the other end actually, well, that already has solder on it, so I'm just going to apply a little bit of heat. Just make sure it propagates. There it goes. Perfect. Okay, that is a perfectly soldered component, unlike some of these over here. I didn't use an oven for this, so everything's kind of uneven from hand soldering. I gotta watch the angles on this because everything is very tightly packed. Ah, damn it. There we are. Ooh, it's a little breezy out. Now, is this thing sticking up? Is his ass sticking up in the air? Yeah, it is. Okay, so I gotta push it down. I gotta push it down. A 603 is pretty frustrating size-wise. There we go. Okay, we're gonna leave this alone now. Whew. Oh yeah, I need to read this, otherwise I'm gonna be just flapping in the breeze. Yesterday, I pseudo-maze etched a board for the first time in 10 years. Worked out really well. I had tracks of 0.5 millimeter. That's pretty damn small, but no broken traces. Hey, the tantalum caps look secondhand as fuck. Yeah, they are. They're actually the wrong voltage too. They're the only ones we could find. I might be able to actually, if I get that sound card, I think I'd be able to find some tants that might be 50 volts, but the ones I'm using are 10, 20, 30. They're definitely not, I mean, they're barely suited for 12 volts. Yeah, I forget what voltage range it was. It's the one that's not quite 24 volts. 25 volts, rather. The board and components are so small, it makes your soldering iron look like a freaking broomstick. Yeah, I know. It is, you would think it's less exacting. I could use the pencil tip, the needle tip soldering iron, but then I might not have enough heat to really work with some of the larger components, and it makes the smaller components a little less clean. I make my QMK code like the rest of the hobby. Copy paste stuff from existing code that works. Oh yeah. Like the rest of the hobby, copy paste stuff from that works. I have code that works. The only thing that might need to happen is a couple rows and a couple rows might need to be transposed because the circuit layout order was manipulated in order to make the trace layout more easily. Learn it's difficult to solder an SOT23 without a solder mask. I have some solder mask paint, which I dapped around pads, worked a lot better with it. Why is it hard to solder without? I guess if your design is pretty dense, but then you could just look up what components are what, or at least just note them down in your documentation. Because I mean, SOT23 is just 3 pads, right? You can just make a note of how it's supposed to go down. We'll do a little bit of this soldering just so we can finish up the other board. This one I built on my own. Apparently they decided to put a part number right there. That's a little weird. And then we need to bend these leads so that they'll match up with the chip below. And then I need to figure out how to make quite a large solder bridge to occur. That's going to be the tough part. Can we get the solder bridge over that 0.2 millimeter lip? And in the future, if we can't, I will need to redesign this to not have a ground plane beneath these pins so that I can take a knife and cut the very front, thus putting these things in the very, very front line. I am not going to use wires. I don't want to do that. I like this album. It's nice and, I don't know, experimental. Actually, it's not really experimental. This just sounds good. I like this. Very good album. Very, very good. At some point, I think OTT was eyeing my stream. I'm not sure about that, but like my story goes, he went live for 30 seconds, literally 28 seconds, I believe it was, and it was footage of a 3D printer. So I don't know if he had eyes on, oh bother, for playing his music during his intros. I can't do that as much anymore. I've got to play it on the private Twitch live only feed, because otherwise they come down on you like a ton of bricks. I thought I was wicking down the traces. Oh, because you had exposed traces. Yeah. Can you not just slice the edge of that flexiboard with an X-Acto? Well, therein lies the rub. Right beneath those pins, there is a ground plane. So if I cut across, then I may be exposing that ground plane to like a microscopic amount of solder. It's a risk. It's a living. Where's my pipe cutter? I need my pipe cutter. I could probably just clip this with a pair of clippers, but I've got this tiny little pipe that we're going to use as a bending form. Well, no, it's not a bad suggestion. It's a bad design on my part. I shouldn't have designed it like that. Not even old Minecraft? What, C418, there it is. Not even old Minecraft music is safe for Warner Brothers. What a bunch of piss. Those companies that can't understand that, like, streams can make or break a game. And so coming down on the music makes you not want to stream that game. Even old games aren't safe. Game could be 20 years old and have a user base of 3 people, and because they happen to use something that was sampled in a song in the background on a TV that's a mile away, you get struck. You get sprung. Wait, no, that's the wrong. No, that's not the term. You shouldn't say it. No, yeah, don't say that. Just don't say that. Where did my pipe cutter go? I had a small pipe cutter in here somewhere. It's up here. Oh, I need to put away more stuff. I'm kind of suffering right now from not having put things away. This goes back in the drawer. I've got to put double-sided tape, has to go back in a drawer. Otherwise it gets full of dust. The main reason I bought this expensive cabinet is to keep dust out of all of my stuff. My stuff got so dusty. Had it all out in the open. Nice and easy to see where things are. Oh no, that's magnet tape. Never mind. I thought that was VKB. Where's my pipe cutter? Son of a bitch. Oh, standing up. Okay, I gotta sit down. I'm a little sick. I'm feeling a little lightheaded. It's just the way things are this season. I have other symptoms that I will not be discussing with chat. I get to keep some things private, okay? Gee. What up, Nero? I'm gonna say Neko. His name is Cat. No, it's just Nero. Vision's a little blurry at that distance. This song fucking rule. I'm having a good time with the music today. This is exactly the kind of stuff that I want to have lead off. Just something a little psychedelic and something a little poppy and fun and happy and light. We're keeping it light. We're keeping it light. We're keeping it light because nothing else is these days. I have no idea about keyboards. Well, that makes two of us. I've been working on this design for some time. Let me make sure that my copy of Fusion 360 is closed down. It is. All right, so let's start up Fusion 360 and see if the coordinator gave me my free copy for doing periodic sponsored streams. I designed this in a program called Fusion 360, which bought my old circuit board design software. I used to use Eagle when it was the darling of the hobby realm. And Fusion 360 bought it, but I had always learned AutoCAD. So when I got to building my stream up, everybody said, get a 3D printer, get a 3D printer, get a 3D printer. And I said, no, I hate 3D printers. I hate them. I still do hate them, but they have a very, very good purpose and they work really well with a good piece of CAD software. So I cut my teeth at Drexel University on AutoCAD. Whoa, frame dropping. Fusion is starting up. And so I went, well, what free options do I have? And so Fusion 360 was free. I started using it. And then I was like, maybe I could get an educational copy. But anyway, they eventually found my stream and they found that I was designing all this stuff in Fusion, including circuit boards and the enclosures for them. 360 degrees, the whole thing. Oh, what's this? The following recovery documents were created. I don't really think I need them. Yeah, I don't need these because I was working on the files on the other computer, so I don't think there were any updates to them. So, what is this view? Why did thermals jump up over there? What is going on? Why is thermals on? Burp. Oh, we're viewing the wrong. There we go. There's the Fusion copy. Yeah, it's still expiring soon. 5 days. I sent an email. I'm like, please, sir, my copy of the software is sick. It is dying. Please, you must help me. We are looking at the keyboard. We're jumping out here, and we're going to admin. Wait, why was I opening this? I don't remember. Workdesk, vector art, personal projects? No. Stream projects. There we go. Code QMK takeover. And then we'll open up the whole board file. We're going to use the 3D scanner to make that bevel better. What's up, Tomby? Tomba? I got a Cherry KC1000 for $10 and that has served me for a good few years now. And then you opened up Twitch and you went to look specifically for streams that had anything to do with keyboards and opened up mine, which is bad fate for you because we are not a keyboard streamer. I use this Code 10 keyless keyboard and I love it. And I haven't had any other need for any other kind of keyboard at all, save for the fact that I spill stuff on the keyboard periodically. I haven't lately, but a year ago I was definitely. And so I spilled stuff on it, and the design of the Code 10 keyless makes it so that the processor on it just dies. And so nothing Just look through science and technology. It's okay. I'm just being a goofball. So the design of the Code 10 keyless is that they have a Sonics microcontroller right here. They have a follow-up Sonics microcontroller right here, and it's sort of towards the bottom of the keyboard. And so when water spills on it, it infiltrates this whole area. And so this stuff got soaked. The clocks probably are what's broken. I'm not really willing to give it the benefit of the doubt because I wanted to do like a keyboard takeover project, and we built it. We built it on the other keyboard, and I used these 3 muxes and I put them down over here. And then I had the RP2040 pretty much where it is right now. And everything was honky-dory, and I ran all these wires up and around this thing, and it was sort of a skill project, and I got it working, and it's been working ever since. It's still working. It's on my main computer. I don't want to take it down right now. When it comes to upgrading the other one, when we verify that this one works, I'll take that one out. But yeah, so I designed, because JLC PCB, the PCB authoring company, had a deal on flexible PCBs. Normally, flexible PCBs are ridiculously expensive. The Seed Studio can do them. It'd be about $400. So JLC PCB has an affordable Flexi PCB service. It's like $40 for 5 of these things, and they sent me 6. They sent me an extra one. I don't know why. And so you can do a design in Fusion 360 specifically for flexible PCBs. They don't have a lot that's baked in. They have like a 2-layer and a 4-layer board template, but they don't really have like a Flexi PCB template. There's a couple things that I think the software could probably incorporate. I don't have a list. I would have to sit down and come up, with the areas that I had a little bit of trouble in order to make Flexi PCBs. But all I did was just draw out all the right stuff using the same tools as a regular PCB, and then I sent it off to JLC. They didn't have a single complaint, and within a week, I had my exact drawings in this very, very detailed board. That's 0.2 of a millimeter trace. Very, very small. Very Art Deco looking, but also very small. So yeah, pin out of the microcontroller into the muxes, and the muxes into the Pico Pi. Then, once I did all that, I discovered this little guy right here, this RP2040. Not all of the pins of the RP2040 are being taken out on this. And it turns out, although I'm not sure, considering that I have to plug in that EEPROM over there, if I were to move this chip the way that I should have done it, putting the chip directly down on this board, and of course then I'd have to put my own power supply on there. It's not that hard to do. A little power supply, a little overcurrent protection, maybe an LED if you're feeling kind of crazy, a diode to help protect you from weird power events. Put that directly down onto the orange Flexi, and then I don't need the muxes. Maybe. I'm not sure about that, because I may have exactly the number of pins to run it. 90% of my time on Twitch is watching keyboard streamers. What kind of content do they have? I mean, like everybody uses a keyboard, but I mean like keyboard specific, like mechanical keyboard. Do they just review the same stuff over and over again? I know that sector is hot. I know people are doing a lot of stuff in there. What's up? Oh, I already said hi to Tom B. The other thing I want to do at some point, maybe not with you guys, is to make some patch panels for the modular synthesizer. These are the boards that for these are the boards for the mixer. I printed extra copies because I can put a bunch of Donkey Kongs on this and just wire them all together and just have a patch panel. I can make a couple of these. That'll help us when we need to like route signals and observe signals at the same time. And I do need to get a pile of stereo Donkey Kongs, because I would like to make a stereo patch panel too. Something where I can plug one stereo in and have 2 stereos out. That way we can plug in, like the oscilloscope. I can do the tests that I need to do, etc. What did I need? I needed like a stereo breakout. I think I might need to make that. I don't know if I'll have to write little R's and L's on the tiny little panel where I don't have room. These are also kind of flexy. So I'll probably have to put a PCB behind them, just so they're, when you plug into it, you're only putting force on the wings instead of flexing the whole thing when you plug something in. Everything is too small and too thin and too weak. I must grow. whew, we had a little bump in activity, and now everybody's falling asleep. They all got tired. They're like, maybe I'll go sleepy. Oh my God, and then there goes my dog. Oh, we're gonna spend too much time in software today, aren't we? I gotta relearn how to flash QMK. Darn. Although, once we get that done, am I going to have done this on the first try? Will there be no issues at all? Some issues we might experience. My traces are very small. Even the power traces are very small. I tried to make them a little bit larger, but they are still wafer thin. So we've got to see whether or not our power traces are going to run into trouble running this keyboard. A lot of LEDs, and they're all going to need a little bit of trace width in order to function properly. Let's get the start soon out of here, and I'll just get the stream started. I'm done complaining into the camera. It is icy cold. What's that? I'm just using you today. That doesn't feel too good. I got phase 1 site assessments to write, and it's either you or an audio book. Hey, look, that's not degrading at all. I don't mind being in the background of other people's lives. Oh, we could update Fusion, but I just need it there for the example. So anyway, yeah, we've got this keyboard PCB that I designed with JLC PCB. I ordered it. It came here very quickly, and now I have the board with me. We built most of it last Friday. I got a couple tools in here that will help with the remainder of this build. So let's just do the remainder of the build, the actual physical build, and then we need to get to attaching this thing to the board. And that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. And then we need to learn about how QMK works again, because we did this before, but I forget all of it. I forget everything that I learned about QMK. I was doing pretty well with it. I was going to program in a module that allowed me to use the screen to more effect, but that didn't really work out. So let's do this. In the future, one thing that I have to work on in the background here is I need to make something that checks the YouTube stream and make sure that it does not continue for 4 hours after my stream. I got back downstairs after, cooking dinner for the family, getting the dog out a couple times, and, carrying groceries and doing all the shit that I do after stream. And then I come back downstairs and I finally sit down and go, oh my God, YouTube's still running. It was like right when Copper messaged me, I started to discover it, and then I was like, oh no. So apparently we had 8 hours of technical difficulties after stream. Sorry, 4 hours of technical difficulties after stream. I need something to prevent that, and that's what this light is supposed to do. So we can put in Node Red something that will check the API and hopefully inform me that the stream is still running. But let's put down some transistors and stuff. So LM3904 is a generic NPN transistor. So that's negative doping, positive doping, negative doping. What that means is that on that center positive doped substrate, if you add current to that, that's going to bias its edges. The interface between materials is going to be biased electronically. It's going to have electric fields present on it. When that creeps out far enough, that positively doped center will allow everything from the neighboring negatively doped septors, negatively doped edges. It'll allow current to flow like a diode. And so what you can do with that is you can use a very low current, low current signal to trigger a high current flow. So you can use it like a switch, transistor like a switch. And so we're using them in here in order to enable lighting. Well, I'm not even using them as high current stuff. I think I'm using them as just like inverters. I don't know, but I'm using them to trigger other transistors and trigger lighting effects on the board. This board has LEDs, and I've replaced, on the other board, I've replaced them all with orange LEDs. This one, I have not replaced the LEDs, but that's the least of our worries right now. We're going to try to get this thing up and running. So I've put down little pieces of tape to support the Flexi PCB and hold it in place. This is the weakest and most terrible double-sided foam tape that I have. If I was really confident in this design, I would use the VHB tape, which is super duper strong, but I'm not feeling all that confident in this design. because I haven't seen any errors in my design. And that makes me a little bit nervous. QMK can do MIDI. What does that even mean? I could have like a stereo plug on the back and that would output MIDI, so I could plug it into my modular synthesizer. Why would I want that? What would be the purpose of that? So, orange Flexi PCB, we had trouble soldering to it because we were soldering on top of an aluminum heatsink, this thing right here. We were soldering on top of an aluminum heatsink. And unfortunately, that meant that all of the heat from the iron would be sucked out of the very, very thin flexible PCB too quickly. So I sprung into action and I ordered one of these flat PCB clamps. These are pretty useful to have. This is what I should be using instead of the flippy one that Wexo sent in. This is the good one, except that this requires way too much pressure. This freaking wing nut put divots into my finger. I need to get something that's like a big knob to put on there, because all it's doing is squishing aluminum that's a little bit thick. It's just squishing down this aluminum in order to put pressure on the center bar. It's not an amazing piece of technology, this. But this will hold the PCB in place and give it a little bit more inertia so that when I push on it with the soldering iron, it doesn't fly away. And I got this piece of FR4, this multi-layer FR4 from an NVIDIA graphics card. Don't worry, this graphics card was not going to be doing much else than pushing up daisies. This thing is dead as a doornail, and that's because of overclocking. I'm sure some of these caps are still good though. We can harvest parts from this at some point. But yeah, this is a former graphics card. Which NVIDIA was this? That's from 2011. Made in the USA. Do they label it? Do they give it the name? I don't know which one it is. Oh, GeForce 4. That's a GeForce. Old GeForce 4. I think it's AGP. Anywho, this thing is dead. It's just completely dead. So cut off the back of it. It goes back into the bin of derelict electronics where we source parts. And now I've got this probably 4-layer PCB that we can work on, and it won't suck away all the heat of the PCB substrate. So let's get the one that I have not soldered all the transistors to. I'm going to tape it down onto here, and we will attach the transistors. Simple as. I'll use the really thin tape. We'll use some thin tape, and I need the knife. Where's the knife? Finish. There it is. We'll start off with a little soldering because it's a little bit more appealing for viewers. And then I have to do the bending and then the soldering. And then we're right back into doing software. Good old software. I've got all the software I need. We're just going to load it up and then see if it becomes a keyboard, which will be an achievement in and of itself. Where's the tape edge? Here it is. Found it. Yeah, this is like 20, 30 bucks. And it's not complicated. It's just a little piece of aluminum, but it can hold the larger PCBs than my miniature vise, which is what I was looking for. I can't see what I'm doing. It's too far away. Hold on. Wait, no, I've already committed. Good enough. All right, I just want a little piece right here. Yeah, trying to find the end of the tape, only complain about Kapton. It's even worse with like double-sided tapes where they don't have a paper backing. You just have this giant sticky reel and you're supposed to kind of intuit where that end is. I don't want to tape anywhere over here because I don't want to rip that. So now we're just held up on two ends. This is probably still, it's relatively flat. I haven't actually worked on the surface yet, so this is pretty nice. And it lifts it up from the board a little bit. I still have pretty heavy shadows over here, but lifting it up a little further than this is usually preferable. Okay, now this bin is the sort of like, I don't know, I've categorized all of my surface mount electronics, but this one is actually very, very useful. It's got all of the diodes and transistors, and then it has my 10s and 100Ks all on one bin. The only thing that would make it better is if it had decoupling caps on it. We've got XY. Let's get the decoupling caps up, because then we'll just work out of this bin. It's got all the 4148s and stuff on it. It's quite nice to be able to just grab one bin and have all the parts you need. All the parts that I would ever ingest. Okay, 0.1 off 0805. Got tons of these. I need 3. I was being nice in this circuit, and I added 3 of these. I'm sure just a wayward blast of static electricity, or like just a little bit of EMF, would probably trigger something in this keyboard that needs a capacitor on it. But I haven't found that thing yet. I do not know what it could be. I tried to put a little paper factory end back. Wait, what are you talking about? Oh, on the tape. Yeah, I mean, you could double over the end. You just fold it over on itself. That's one way to do it. Generally, I just hope that I have nails that day and I haven't bit them off. All right, so let's get these little goobers soldered. And then we'll get the transistors and the resistors. This is very simple because all this does is pull that line to ground, and pulling it to ground triggers another transistor, which I think is more suited for the amount of current. At least I hope anyway, because if that's not the case, we're going to have trouble with traces heating up. Not flat. Okay, so I'm viewing this in the same perspective that you are. I'm viewing it from a monitor that has my stream on it, not even full screen. And so I don't see the depth of the stuff that I'm Proteus. Whoop-a-doo. Hey, I knew how to say that. Hey, Proteus, thank you so much. When you're soldering surface mount like this, and you grab something with the tweezers and move it around, the tweezers can tend to pick up one end of it. And so you're not fully aware of the parallax that's going on there. Like especially when I slide it over this, and if this isn't fully molten, then the component will pick up from the board. And so you can tend to have things tombstone on you. Traditional tombstoning is when you heat up the side of the part of the surface mount chip, and it lifts itself up with surface tension. That happens too. So what you saw right there is while this thing was still molten, I pushed down on the middle there. That's one technique. The other one is to come back and, you know, I flatten the tweezers out and I press down from above. But you got to be careful about how hard you press down, because the adhesion of that conductive cap is only so good. It only holds on so much. And so you can accidentally break the component off of its end cap. This is working out so much better with an FR4 substrate beneath this, because the FR4 is non-conductive, and so it not only doesn't really conduct heat all that well, it doesn't conduct electricity, it doesn't conduct heat very much either. Although there is a big swath of copper, this is a big ground plane down there, it still is better than trying to solder on top of the heat sink. And I'm using this big dumb soldering iron end because it has a lot of heat to provide, and it'll make sure that things fully flow over. We got to make sure that our solder coats the entirety of that pad. And so this iron tip is able to distribute, hold on, solder's in a weird place, able to distribute a lot of that heat. There's a couple properties. There's like an inertia, the amount of heat that is held in the iron, the amount of heat that it's capable of transferring, and then on top of that, the amount of heat that it's capable of adding back into the system. So I've got a 300-watt soldering iron, and I've got the correct tip chosen. We've got flux helping to insulate it in a little bit. And so those three factors make this a very effective soldering. I need to move this over a little bit. You need to move, buddy. At some point, we'll get back into Fusion, and I will reduce the size of the pads for my 0603s. It'll basically be making another part. These are pretty good. These have just enough room to solder, but I do have to go in and edit the capacitor and make sure that they're on a millimeter grid. I've been using a millimeter grid instead of a mil grid. Mil is what's typically used in circuit boards, and it's an English standard. It's an inch standard that's somehow propagated all the way down to this stuff. Is that? I guess that's just solder. Okay, so 1 kilo ohm resistors. Killer ohm, bro. One thing you got to be careful about on these Flexi PCBs is that these pads are not very strong. They're not very strong at all. They are flexible, but they can very, very easily be ripped out. About the adhesion of like a piece of Gorilla Tape on top of more Gorilla Tape, right? That didn't look like it got solder under it. I think it's a matter of perspective. They look perfect. Well, this one's a little weird. Yeah, I think we're all good. The shadow can kind of mess with you, and that's why you kind of tilt it. But tilting it pulls it out of its focal distance, so you get major blurring. The focal distance is very small. I could narrow the aperture and get a larger focal distance. Now, these are using 1 kilo ohms. I could probably get away with 10s. We're talking about digital communications here. We're talking about 1s and 0s in the 3 volt space. So we don't need a lot of current, but I'm using a 3904, which is an older transistor, so I think I tried to tilt from here, but it didn't work. You gotta get better at that. And did I just see something flash up on the screen? Hold on one sec. My windows are all discombobulated. Let me just get this back over here. My problem is if anybody does anything on YouTube, I can't see it. If I get super chats or anything like that, I don't think I have, but I don't see it, and I don't have any interface to put it on OBS. That's one of the things that I need to fix. Okay, nothing happened. It was just Proteus like an hour ago. Oh, Jesus, that was a weird bark. That was a non sequitur willow bark. It sounded like a small dog. I can't stand this. So I don't know what it is about the resistors, if they're like ferromagnetic, or if it's like the flux on the tweezers holding on, but stop it. They can tend, oh, I guess I designed this for 0603. I can still put a larger one in there. Ooh, I feel like I'm all thumbs today. I have 600 thumbs, and they're ready to solder. These are filthy. I need to clean my tweezers, I think. The lip on the copper substrate is what I keep running into here. And it makes it so that my tweezers kind of flick the resistor in a weird spot. That didn't do anything. We'll come back to that. One more out of the pile. This bin is absolutely full of 1Ks. Because when we test digital stuff, the 1Ks really come in handy as just kind of a little buffer in between elements so that you don't get a runaway current for any particular reason. I just had to have them all facing in the same direction, so I ended up flipping it wrong. All right, number 3. Now you can see they're not, well, that one is actually well soldered, but they're not like great solder jobs. I'm only concerned in anchoring the chips down so that I can come back and then rework it. That's the reason I use a 3-leg holder made of toothpicks and a weight to hold down the component during soldering. What scale are you doing that on? Because 3 toothpicks and a weight is a little crazy. I mean, like even with through hole, you just do like 1 anchor pin and then push down on it with the tweezers and re-anchor it, and it's fine. That's how I do through hole anyway. I'm gonna get a piece of paper towel so I can clean off my tweezers. My tweezies is gross. And it's really pissing me off because the tweezers will hold on to components and not drop them off where they should. Why don't you use ceramic tweezers? Well, because the ceramic tweezers that were sent in to me by a generous viewer were the type that are held open and they require a lot of force to close. And if they require a lot of force to close, then I don't get the feedback I need of me holding on to the chip. And I end up either sending the thing I'm holding into low Earth orbit or not grabbing it at all. What's up, Celia? How you doing? How's it going over there? I got dirty, dirty tweezers on this stream. Just nasty, filthy tweezers. I know you guys are into that. Oh. Nasty, nasty, nasty business. Nasty business this tweezers is. Get the outside. This stuff will dry off your skin, so it's not good to be exposed to it for very long. Although my pinching fingers are going to be weird after this. Try to dry them off. Getting a little dry. All right, inside and outside are scrubbed. It's important to clean your tweezers every now and then, folks. Especially in the presence of so much flux. Doing all right? 2 days off from work. Time to recap an OG Xbox. Damn. That sounds fun. Yeah, what was I going to say? I had something to say. Oh, I stayed away from electronics for the past couple days between working on this thing. It was a huge temptation to want to come in here and actually work on this thing, but I kind of stayed away. I kept myself from burning out. I need to do that more often. I'm not in super danger of burning out lately, but I've had some really bad habits. Really, really bad habits. This one I think is still standing up a little bit. If I can get to the two leads, I can maybe have it sit itself down. Is that sitting flat? Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Not great, but it's okay. I know, I need to do the gaming streams again. I meant to tech. I really wanted to tech out the gaming stream and make sure that everything was working right. I've been playing a lot of Abiotic Factor, which had a new update that is like a full goddamn meal. There's a lot of content in that new update. So I was kind of going through that. I don't know if it would have been more stressful to have chat along the way. That content is pretty stressful to begin with. It's very difficult, single player. Which is good. That's what I wanted. All right, so we're going to put two M3904s, or equivalents. 1A is written on top of the transistor. We need 3 of them. Yeah. Oh, long drive. Yeah, long drive is getting... Isn't long drive approaching version 1? I had a lot of fun playing that with you guys. That was a fun one. Except for the ridiculous amount of stuff that you have to go through on certain stops. Where's the 3904? One and 4 and 4.8. Those are the weird ones. 3904 NPN. 3 of these. Coming right up. A 2. A 3. I never make it without biting. All right. Every day for the past few days? I don't think long drive will ever be released. The dev seems more, I made something just to test code. Oh, that's interesting. So he's using it as a test bed. I guess that's an even better fate for the long drive, because that game, I don't think that game deserves any kind of polish. I think it's perfect the way it is. And having it be this weird experiment baby of the developer is kind of fun and funny. It's so very European. Oh, hello, I am the radio. The nonsensical radio. It'd be boring if it was polished. Yeah, that's true. I can't believe still what Rabaz did in that game. He was capable of making just an entire marauding setup, like camper van. That man is just too skilled in outfitting apartments in games. I guess in real life he's got an okay apartment. He really needs to prioritize and get a house already. And finish his game. Where did that go? I mean, it feels like Rabaz's game is going to be like Long Drive in the end. It's just never going to get finished, which I don't think is a bad thing. It actually soldered. That doesn't look too well soldered, does it? No, I guess it is. I'm gonna put a little dollop of solder on that pin. I don't like the looks of it. The hell is that? It just like absorbed the solder and nothing happened. Well, I don't think it's making contact. That's why. Just hit it with a blob. There we go. Now it's definitely making contact. Gave a Long Drive to a friend of mine that was really into iRacing. And he played for 3 weeks straight in VR. That can't be a good game to play in VR. There's no way. It'd be so jarring. Oh. Sprung it over here. There's a little bit of coffee on these chips. I spilled my coffee one time and it kind of dribbled on top of the surface mount containers, but so far everything works fine. I'm not going to reorder all those components. They'll just smell a little bit like coffee. Okay. Reorient so that the iron can get there. Man, I'm either super cold or sweating, and I'm sweating now. I don't know what it is. I think I'm just a little bit sick. I think I came down with something. Some kind of alien virus. I'm going to be patient 0. You know, might as well get in on the ground floor. And it pays dividends when everybody's got the disease. Alien virus. I'm trying to go to the pad first, but I've got to go a little bit to the iron and then to the pad because it's a ground pad. It doesn't want to heat up. There we go. Okay, that was too much solder, but we got there in the end. Oh, what's going on there? I see like a little dark line on top of it. I'm just making sure that that's not a cold solder joint. Now this will cooperate. I just go right here, hold it there for a second or two, and then I go to this corner. There we go. The solder flows in and it flows to the whole pad. This one, it's going to eke away my heat. So I've got to be careful about where I'm applying. There's the leg soldered, not the pad, and then it flows down to the pad and then flows over the whole thing. I'm not adding additional flux. I don't need additional flux to do this. Just take a little bit of additional patience, which means that my end result is a little cleaner. I don't have an ultrasonic bath. I'm not about to throw this thing into a bunch of alcohol. I could go over it with a Q-tip and a little bit of goof off, orange flavored acetone. I don't really need to. Yeah, see, this is a struggle. I can add a little bit of solder to the iron sometimes and get that. There it goes. See, that was a blob of solder that fell onto the pin and got it hot enough. What up, Wonky Robot? How you doing? How's it going? Welcome to my stream. French roast LDOs. I found a swivel bus in the game. Oh yeah, a crinkle bus, accordion bus. Turned that into a mobile home, filling each with barrels. Rabaz had a whole like bedroom. It was wild. He had like an entire whole ass bedroom in his mobile home. All right, so now we need to prep these. These are the pads that are going to interface with the keyboard PCB at the microcontroller pins. And so what I'll do is ignore the dog hair and we'll put down, what the hell, get out of there. I hate Tachyflux. We'll put down a little line of Tachyflux. And we can either put down a line of Tachyflux or we can put down a line of solder paste. In this case, I'm just too lazy to get the solder paste. So instead, I'm putting a little tiny bead of Tachyflux down on each of these rows. Just a little tiny bit like that. And that's what I would, the exact same thing I would do with solder paste. And then I could just bring in hot air, and the hot air would, well, we'll do that on the second set. I'll show you guys that on the second set. On this set, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the soldering iron and a little bit of solder, and I'm just going to wipe the pads. So a little bit of solder, a little bit of iron. I can actually add it here like this because we don't need that rosin. And then I can just go across these. I'm going to have to wipe it because they're a little far apart. So the sort of raking of solder, the drag soldering isn't happening quite as well. And guess what? We all survived. We did something that had drag in the name, and we didn't all die. Nobody was harmed. Nobody was exposed to anything they shouldn't have been, except maybe the streamer was exposed to a little bit of flux. Look at that. Nothing to fear. Weird. We didn't have to other a vulnerable group. We just simply put solder down on traces. Easy peasy, right? Yeah. Let's bother talking about it. Seems like he's talking about something else. Oh no, what's going on there? Come on, give me my solder back. Okay, we'll have to get that later. We'll get it out of there later. There we go. See, just came right back to it. Okay, now we go over here. Oh. Now you'll notice that I am moving the device in order to have this thing facing in a direction that is compatible with whatever I'm trying to do. Just because I want to get that iron flat and have as much of a contact patch as possible so that our heat gets distributed quickly. I think I ran out of solder. I need to add a little bit more. Run it out to solder. Shoulder. There we go. So those are all coated. The alternative to doing this technique is if you have hot air, you can use, or an oven, you can use solder paste. There we go. Paste was the word I was looking for. So if I grab the solder paste, I guess I can keep this tip on. I might need to add a little bit more. But solder paste really is something that you keep refrigerated. And the only time you'll ever have a refrigerator that's compatible with solder paste is if you work in a big tech lab or a place that specifically does this stuff, because it's really weird to have solder paste in a fridge. You're not really supposed to put it with food items, right? You're not supposed to put it with food items because it contains all kinds of shitty chemicals. So anyway, in order to get solder to flow onto this thing, all I'm going to do is zoom. Well, okay. I think the end is hardened a little bit. All right. Hold on. I'm going to cut that tip off. Yeah, you don't want to be putting it on sandwiches. That's true. Very true. That's very real of you. How much heat will a Flexi PCB handle? If a Flexi PCB could handle heat? Whatever Captain can take, because I believe it's just Captain that's been cut out very carefully. Oh, this is horrible. Why is this not cooperating? I'm going to stick a pin in the end. Maybe that'll move whatever oxidized crap is getting in the way. Oh, that didn't work. I gotta be careful about that. And This is laying down a lot. This may be too much. I've seen air-powered setups that can very carefully, very evenly distribute the solder paste. Stuck paste instead of sticky paste. It's tacky flux and solder paste. And the paste is supposed to flow, but since I don't keep it refrigerated, and I kept the little syringe end on it, the stuff on the end oxidizes and it becomes hard. Now, what is solder paste? If we could zoom in more than this, if I got the focus rings out and I lifted up the setup and everything, we might actually be able to get close enough. Hold on. We can get close enough to this stuff. What you'll see resembles less and less of any type of paste, and you can see that it's got a texture to it. And what that texture is little tiny beads of solder. So inside of this are little beads of solder that are suspended in a flux. So when we heat this up, this will flow over, and the solder will have plenty of flux to work with, and it'll be able to spread out and coat everything. There might be like a bead left over. How much do you think the current trade war that is going on would impact something like component prices? We'll find out, because component prices are they're a fairly agile market. So the minute that something starts happening, you will see it reflected. All the prices are laid out digitally on all the websites and stuff. So those prices are very agile. They will flip at a moment's notice. And it might be that we need to start looking at trends in order to figure out when the best time to order stuff is. And it also depends on what they're paying attention to at any given moment, since everything is so fucking discombobulated these days. People are making decisions without even touching an expert. They just make decisions based on whatever foul news sources are spoon feeding them misinformation. It is horrible out there these days, all right? Try to keep your head on a swivel. All right, so let's get, I'm prepping to do hot air, so I'm moving stuff away on the desk. Moving stuff away on the desk because we're gonna have a fairly large source of heat coming in from one angle here. And a lot of the stuff that I have on the desk is not heat sensitive, but like 3D prints, I don't really want to be directly in the, looking down the barrel of this thing. So this should be fairly okay. This is elevated. This is a soft plastic. This is where we're heating. Heat's going to spread out laterally from there. Even with the metal vise, it can cause a little bit of bowing of this, but I've never tried it with the FR4. So we'll see. I mean, if I ruin this vise today, whatever the nylon clamp is, then they better have something slightly heat resistant on this. Why do you have 25 seconds of latency? That's like so far out of the conversation that I will never remember what I had said. I'm gonna like tell Copper something that's super easily defensible, and he will miss his chance to defend it. All right, so we're gonna put this directly onto the microscope, and it's gonna look awesome. What you're gonna see is that solder will spread out, and then it will become liquid, and that liquid will then adhere to the copper pads. You could put a coat of Captain across the top of the jaws. That's a good idea. That is a great idea. I'm just the captain for it. When you do this kind of stuff, if you do this kind of stuff more often than just on like a hobby standpoint, or even just like, you know, you got a big project, stock up on things like Captain tape and pin headers and certain components and stuff, because you'll want to not think about how much it costs to put down a particular piece of Captain tape. What I do when I do a heat shield is I just kind of attach it ahead and then let it be loose over here. And if it's loose over here, the heat's not going to transfer as well. You've got an air gap that'll help you out. So I peel off a big piece, cut it, pull the knife out of my finger, and then I tape it in front of the thing that I'm trying to protect. And then that'll create a nice little air gap. Can I get that on record? My wife will never believe that I had a good idea. It was a legitimately good idea. It's a... Here goes Bother again, pontificating on top of his little ivory tower about people who can easily change their minds given new information. Talk about a lost fucking talent there. I don't get why so many people are entrenched in their ideas these days. I can't even talk to some of my real life friends because they're just so entrenched in their beliefs. And then they believe that science is a belief and not, you know, science. I want this to be just a little bit further up. Oh, damn it. Well, that's good enough. That's probably good enough. This is too much solder paste. So let's add some hot air to this. Now, when adding hot air to a system like this with the flexible PCBs, I don't know if I need to do the same thing as with the FR4 board. With FR4, I sneak the heat in, and I come in slowly with that heat. And I guess we probably should do the same thing. We don't want to stress out our Flexi board. I don't really know the upper limits of the capabilities of the Flexi board, too. It should be able to withstand full-on soldering heat and then some. So now we're fluxing around, and I pull this closer. Ooh, that was ugly. We can clean it up. All right, we're done. That's the beauty of solder paste. And I guess this stuff kept its heat way better. What we can do is we can come in here with the iron, and I can just flick this away, clean the iron, scraping up the boogers. Give me that booger. There you go. I expect that to be that quick. What's going on with this one? Something weird is going on. Let me bring in my regular solder. Might be a slightly different alloy for this stuff. That or all the flux just like left. I don't know. Yeah, seeing it on a microscope is really cool. Seeing it with less solder would have been better. The tip that I cut deposited way too much. Oops, sorry, I gave you guys a head injury. Ubiquity update. Oh, you're using Ubiquity. I've been wanting to upgrade the system into that. Get that small business speed going. But I just haven't had the chance to explore it. And I don't have the budget. Don't have the budget. Now, when you do these little fingers like this, they recommend that you leave 0.2 of a millimeter of the pad under the solder mask so that it doesn't fly off with any sort of mechanical issues. Like, for instance, my soldering it here is potentially adding enough heat to lift the pad off of the board, especially for these ones that don't have traces behind them. And then the name of the game with these is going to be adding too much solder because we are trying to bridge the gap of the front here. We're trying to bridge that gap. There's a little bit of overlap there in that material. We want to bridge over that onto the pad on the board. Why does it stick well onto the contacts and not spill over? That's part of what flux is doing, is it's allowing it to kind of pool. If you think about water and you think about metal, metal's pretty dense. And so in turn, it has very heavy surface tension properties going on as well. So it bubbles up because of all the surface tension of it. It sticks to the copper because of a near molecular bond. It's like it's a molecular sized mechanical bond. So when I pull off the solder, it doesn't come off like a piece of silly putty. It leaves a film behind that you can't remove any other way than with mechanical means. And then why doesn't it spill over onto this trace? That's because there's a solder mask layer. There's a layer of polymer hold on, I'm gonna get it. I was talking about it on Friday. Polyamide, It's like a polymer-like, high temperature, low weight plastic tape that's sitting on top of those pads. And so there's a physical barrier. There's a physical thing keeping me from contacting. It's good to know the system the customer uses, and most of the customers are Ubiquiti, so we have it. Now, see, my friends have been, looking into this stuff, because there's nothing above your like dumpy Logitech router in the sort of spaces of computer stuff, and they discovered that some of the Apple engineers that were behind their networking equipment, which I guess was pretty good. Oh, we have to do these, which I guess was pretty good. But they found that they went to a company called Ubiquiti, and looking more into it, that's the wrong camera. Looking more into it, that's the wrong camera. What are you doing? Okay. Looking more into it, they found that it was like small business level to consumer, like high-end consumer level networking equipment, which is sort of a thing that I desire. Seeing as business-wise, my internet connection's everything. And then also they found that the Wi-Fi would propagate really, really well. Like it was good Wi-Fi. And so I have to look into some of that stuff, because the Wi-Fi here is terrible. I've tried to do everything I could to get it to work properly. I think having the ability to like throw boosters down and all the other stuff that comes with the Ubiquiti landscape would be beneficial for what I'm doing. Problem is, it's like Apple products, it's expensive. A thought occurs to me. Oh, maybe it's on the other layer of the circuit board. Yeah, it is. It's on the bottom layer. I was like, wait a minute, I don't see any traces coming out of this. I've worked with a comms group, and that's what we used a lot. It's good stuff. That's good. Yeah, the rest is surface tension is a big thing with this size of soldering, and the properties of liquid silver and lead. Really nice access points. Downside is also basically Apple's walled garden. Really? Oh, that's not good. I didn't want Apple's walled garden. I did want to be able to put a holiday GIF on my doorbell screen. And also the fact that all the data is stored locally. You're not participating in training an AI. So you store all your stuff locally, all your camera logs that I don't really need anyway. And hopefully, I don't know this for sure, you guys can chime in. Connection to the camera might be faster. I don't know. Because with the Amazon lady, it takes a minute for it to put the image up. And I think that's a security issue. I want to know instantly. This thing's pretty cool. All right, so this worked out really well. This little solder surface as an FR4 surface, as to not wick away all of my heat. It could be a little bit taller. It could be a baller. It probably wishes it had a girl in the hood. It would call her. But as is, this is pretty good. It's not as heavy as I'd like it to be also. Maybe I could add like a big block to either end here. All right, later, Copper. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, so I don't know. Bother review on the anodized circuit board holder is, yeah, it's pretty good. It's only a couple bucks, so it does what it needs to do pretty well. I think I could use a wider wing nut on this, because you have to put a lot of pressure into this to get this to grip. Other than that, I can't complain. This is a great surface for FR4 boards. Sorry, it's very much not an FR4 board. For flexible PCBs, I think it could use a... No, this is good for flexible PCBs. Don't go buying an NVIDIA credit card. Don't go buying a BAT credit card. Don't go buying an NVIDIA graphics card to cut for the Surface. You could probably find something that works just as well. But, I mean, for 30 bucks, this is going to be my go-to for this kind of thing. Ubiquiti blew up. I remember using them 15 to 18 years ago before they were publicly traded. Really, they blew up. I've only heard about them through my friends recently, but I know they've been using their stuff for some time. Yeah, and I guess they've been having a good time of it. What I need, because I've got my Asus or Acer or whatever the fuck. I have that router there that we modified. We 3D printed antenna connectors for it, so I could use these low impedance or whatever, these high gain antennas. so that I could hopefully reach somewhere outside of this shop. These houses in this neighborhood, I don't know if they use that Mylar coated stuff for the stucco on the outside of the houses. They might have used a thing that has a Mylar coat, because RF signals do not penetrate these houses at all. They don't get outside. I run 2 boosters upstairs because I've got the initial network and then I've got my network. My network has a bunch of crap on it, so I kind of keep it segregated from the rest, just so that I'm not interrupting other people's connections. Welcome to the part of stream where I fight my stomach. I try to say stuff to you guys because I'm passionately getting into a topic that I like, and my stomach is going, we're fighting, blap, 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 and I'm like, ah, I'm talking, I just get fucking hamstrung by acid. I really would like to set up like a Ubiquity system, because I could do 2 cameras, I could do the server, which is the really expensive part, and then I could do the doorbell and my network router and then the other network router, and have 2 Wi-Fis, maybe even running out of the same device. I might only need 2 pieces of equipment for that, and then that would go to switches and stuff, and I could get rid of the rack in the back of the basement and just put everything flat up against the wall, and I think that would be amazing, and the house would have like amazing networking. There's a lot of physical lines, like for the TVs and stuff like that, that I would need to, run off of a switch, but I could mount the switch vertically, and then I don't know what the cable run, the extra cable runs would have to be like hung up on something. But I mean, using that stuff would unify all of the Wi-Fi here, and hopefully does it phone home? Because that's primarily what I'd be getting rid of, is devices that phone home. And then everything would be white plastic, which from my experience is not good, because it's all going to look beige by the time. Well, then again, it's not a Nintendo, so it's not like I'm handling it all the time. The Unify stuff is good for Wi-Fi. Haven't used the routers, but I suppose it's supposed to integrate really well. That's what I hear, and it's not totally hands-off. You're not just in a walled garden where you're plugging everything into everything else and it just works. You need to do a little bit of work on it, but I don't know what level those people that said that are. All right, how am I going to sever this tube? I don't want to have the whole tube sticking out here while we're working with it. I'd rather just have a little piece of it. This tube, it phones home mostly so that you can do admin work remotely, like monitor danger. I don't like that, but I guess that's the world we live in, huh? So this tube is approximately the height of my double-sided tape. My double-sided foam tape is about as tall as this tube. So we're going to use this as a bending form to get these little bendy bits into the right position so that we can bridge solder between it and the main PCB. The router part gets complicated because you're kind of getting into an ecosystem regardless of which way you go. Unify, Microtech, Cisco, OpenSense. You're just learning that environment. I see. And I'm coming in from like, ASUS. And what do you call it? This is my cigarette holder. I have a very long, very thin cigarette holder. Yes. What was that called? W router. My memory does not serve me. What was the OpenWRT? Yes, thank you. The W was I had the W and I was looking for the rest of it. The neurons were just only starting to kind of flirt with each other. Most of the times those systems are almost identical. They all strive to do the same thing. Options are just going in different places. What did it was a Cisco product that I had in the file server. I don't know, man. It's like if I were at the level of some of these streamers and I had money, I would just lean on a friend and go, look, I'm going to give you this much money and you're going to tell me what to buy, and then you're going to have to help me set it up. That's what I would do. Help me set it up, and please don't be drunk and teach me how to do it. I had a friend come over, and we had more than a couple cases of beer setting up my file server, and then I didn't know how to do anything with it. And I eventually fully upgraded it lately to FreeNAS, OpenNAS, whatever the hell it is now. I understand it now, but he didn't teach me anything. He just did the IT stuff. And so I had this file server. I was like, yeah, finally a file server. And then I didn't notice that one of the drives went bad. And then the other drives went bad. And then I was SOL. I lost a lot of nudes. Lost a lot of my own nudes. A lot of really good nudes on that thing. Anyway, yeah, so I learned it all. Got the file server back up. A lot of my old projects are just gone. So now I've got it. All right, so I'm looking for a pipe cutter. I don't know if I'll be able to find one. Don't know if I'll be able to find one. I know I have one, but I don't know where it went. I had a little miniature gray one, and I looked for it earlier and didn't find it. So the prospect of cleanly cutting this thin pipe is not good. Is that how you say that? No, that's not right. We may not be able to cut the pipe clean. I don't want to use a pair of pliers on it because that'll just crush it. It's like back here among the stuff that I never ever use. These are seldom used tools in these drawers. That stuff goes up there. Those are, here it is. That's right here. Cool. All right, so we're going to use this little jobby, and we're hopefully not going to run threads. You don't want the nudes to get, not the old ones. Yeah, nudes purge every now and then. I don't know how this thing is going to do cutting this, or if it can even cut it. It can't cut it. Son of a bitch. It can come in from, yeah, wait, maybe I can make this work. Alternative is just like getting an end mill. I hope they were tasteful at least. They were the tastiest. Is that what you said? That's what you meant, right? A lot of good nudes died that day. The problem is I can't grip this too much or I'm going to bend it more. I mean, that should have scored it pretty good. I don't know if I can actually get it to sever from there. Nope. No, I'm going to need a saw of some kind, if anything. A miniature saw. I don't have that kind of equipment here. How in the hell? I mean, the alternative to the alternative is just to cut it. I can use, maybe these will be a little bit nicer to it. Well, it's not the score that I'm after. It's the actual act of separating. And it's a little bit thick. It's a brass rod. Brass shouldn't really do much to the cutter of this thing. Oh, but it... no, I don't think it did. So I'm just going to pinch it a little bit. And hopefully I won't deform it too much. It's deforming it quite a bit, actually. There we go. Yeah. You guys typed the thing that I'm about to do. It's a lawn dog. California time. Oh, hey, all right. Good to see you. Thanks for participating. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want a sharp edge on the end of this thing. This is our bending form, and we're just going to bend the Flexi PCB around this tube to make a nice, clean bend, is what I wanted to say. So it's basically up and then over. So it'll go up and around this, and that'll put it at the right height for soldering to the pads. I probably shouldn't have put components down before doing this. What am I going to pick it up with? I guess tweezers? Hold on, let me get a pair of tweezers. Where are my tweezers? Where do they go? Hello? Tweezers. There. All right. So, I mean, the mistakes that I've made, having the ground plane go all the way down below these pins, we can still get away with it, but it might make it a little bit more difficult to get a solder bridge to go from the pad over this 2mm gap. And I can't cut that. If I could cut it, if there wasn't a ground plane there, then it might have been a little bit, I don't know, easier to connect. But bygones be bygones. Let's bend this upwards. Okay, apparently I've got to do this. Okay, all right, there we go. Gotta go a little bit beyond. Oh, nope, never mind. Didn't work at all. I mean, maybe I want 2 pieces. Would that do it a little better? Let me get the tube back in here. Oh, it's like way in. Vice grips. Yeah, okay. Potion seller. I need your smallest vice grips. Adventure. You can't handle my smallest vice grips. Potion seller. I'm going on an adventure. I need your strongest vice grips. Adventure. You can't handle my strongest vice grips. My vice grips are simply too strong for you. I don't really know if that's going to do the trick. I think my little method here is not going to work out. I think all I can do is this. Just bend it like this. And actually get like a solid bend in there. I know what would do a little better. What would do a little better? I'll just bend it like that. Just do it manually. What is that? Why are you doing that? What is this? Who's doing this? Who's there? What is this? Why is this happening? What's going on? Oh my God. This is a flexible PCB. Flexible PCB. Hey, probably a cat donated $50. Get yourself something nice. This'll do it. I'll get those shoes you like. Hey, $50. Probably a cat. We're still not sure. Thank you so much. Hey, $50. That will go towards God knows what, but it'll definitely be rolled back into the shop very quickly. Perhaps maybe a new version of the mixer PCB or something will cost about that much. Didn't you do that other way? No, I did it with a piece of paper. And I kind of bent this one a little bit. I was hoping that the tube would make it a little bit cleaner, but we can just do that. This was my test, just to see if I would break it. So what we're doing here is I am doing a quick mechanical keyboard on a Pico Pi. And I've got the whole damn Pico Pi here. Probably should have just been the chip, you know? But I've got the whole damn Pico Pi here, the whole module, because it was only a couple dollars. That interfaces with a couple muxes, because we're only a few pins short of having all the rows and columns. It's got a couple transistors, because there's features like the backlighting of the PCB and stuff like that, or the backlighting of the keys, rather. And we've got interfaces with 2 microcontrollers. I went to a Flexi PCB because JLC PCB had them for $2. $2 for all this stuff. 1 pin is shorted on the Pico. I don't know what you see and that I don't. It looks kind of shorted. Let's check. But so I took the design of the original QMK takeover and I took it to the flexible PCB. And so with the flexible PCB, I can interface directly with the pins of the microcontrollers that I remove, and I can have a much, much stronger setup than the original Sonex microcontroller. No, I'm not seeing what you're seeing. Yeah, it seems to be the way that it goes is that you guys are not as trained at looking at circuit boards and finding shorts as I am. Shadows and camera angles and stuff like that will always influence what the pins kind of look like. Oh, I actually got it just then? Okay. All right, well, there we go. So these are the interfaces to the chips. All I did was I took the data sheet and I made the component, but in making the component, I also added a board outline. And so the board outline makes it this big clover leaf, and the clover leaf is there to basically make a little tiny flat cable out of part of the PCB. And in going down and over, it will shorten the length, or it'll widen the length of the pins so that they can interface with the exact same pattern that's beneath them. So I gotta flip this, and then I gotta bend it. Man, probably a cat, thank you so much. For the dollars. I appreciate those dollars. It's almost a pizza. Remind me to send you some solder paste. I hated surface mount until I literally just pasted it with paste. Hit it with hot air and the stuff just falls into place. Yes, you know, I've got a hot plate and I've been meaning to show everybody that phenomenon. The funk phenomenon. I've been meaning to show everybody that. I just haven't gotten to a project that has that ability yet. But I mean, we use solder paste today already. These tweezers kind of fan out. So I want to get this to be flat, but it's going to be crooked because of the way the tweezers are shaped. But it's okay. It doesn't need to be perfect. I love surface mount. I love it. I think surface mount is universally cleaner, easier in fact than through hole. Doesn't scratch up your hands. All the components are easily identifiable. What is going on here? I'm trying to be really careful. That's the main problem here. That's kind of a stressful bend. I tried to use tubes to bend this around. I probably should use like big wires to bend it around because you need less of a radius in order to get the metal to deform properly. And then I don't remember what I used to load QMK onto the PicoPi. I don't remember what process I followed. That one's really bad. I wish it wasn't like that. Good enough. Good enough for now. Stuff I use is typically pretty all right. Avoiding bridges. But sometimes I need to apply enough flux to both. See, I don't do a high flux setup. I do things by hand, and I add the solder by hand. It's typically too much solder, but it's not a high flux affair. I could probably use a little bit more lead out. I keep pressing the button on the PicoPi. It's like making clicking noises as I push down. All right, that'll probably do it, I hope. Oops, don't want to bend that too much. And then we can straighten that out when we actually solder it down. You hold the button while plugging it in, shows up as a USB disk, and you drop the file on. Oh, I remember that now. Yeah, okay. All right, all right. I think I remember that. I remember. I'm sorry, you jostled all the cobwebs. Starting to become clear. Get the wiggles out. Turn this off. Put this away. That thing's kind of big and in the way. We don't have a lot of real estate here. All right, so here's our working area. We've already removed the parts that need to be removed. I put down a couple pieces of basically my worst foam tape. This stuff sucks. Don't use it for anything. I'm using it because we're rapid prototyping this shit. So it kind of works out. It's barely adhesive. It's hard to peel the backing. Yeah, it does okay. It'll do okay for this for now. But for any future updates, I'm going to be using VKB tape. VHB, VKB, I forget which one it is. VHB. Okay, so when I put this down, I have one chance to put it down. Yeah. That's not cool. Were there any other modifications that I made to this in order to make it work? I don't think so. We did do some modifications, but I don't think that we did a lot. Very high bond, VHB. Okay, I'll try to remember that. Yeah, if you don't have access to the button, you can set up a key macro. The problem is, if you set that up, it has to be sufficiently complicated because it does put it into a state where it needs to get that file, and it won't be a keyboard anymore after that. So we have an actual button on it, but if I hit this button at any point during its operation, this thing will reset itself and it'll no longer be a keyboard. I think I very carefully established my keyboard file in a very carefully protected folder. I need to bring this up without damaging it. All right, so I guess I could tape down some pieces of this, or we could try to solder it. I think maybe the tape is going to hold things in place, though. So maybe if I do 1, 2, 3, and then the big one up here. See, these through-hole pins, I really don't want to poke through. What do you mean, like tape it down and then peel up part of the foam tape? There are all kinds of methods that I'm not doing because we're just going to do it. We're just going to do it. Full send. No regrets. You know, if I was a smart person, I would have had them put a plastic backing on most of this. Except for the little flexi sections. But it was cheap, so I just did what I did. I did what I did. I did what I had to do. Can't get a good view of both of these at the same time, can I? Lucky for us, this stuff is barely adhesive. And since it's not VHB tape, this stuff is not sticking at all. So it's sort of barely even held on in the first place. Hopefully it'll hold on just enough for us to actually work with it. And it's off by a little bit, but we'll be fine. That's the wonder of flexible PCBs. So, all right, time for big drag soldering, huh? Big drag soldering show. Should I get the big solder or is the small solder gonna do? Yeah, I put a bunch of UV epoxy down. That's what we're gonna have to clean off of the other board. Oh God, it's like every time there's a new bouquet of dog hair on this thing. The unfortunate realities of having a very long-haired corgi is that my tacky flux picks up dog hair. Stop telling me what to do, chat. Fuck. Makes you want to not do it. See if I can move it over just a little. Oh no, actually that foam is holding on, so we're just going to have to work around it. And work around it we can, because this is flexible stuff. We could just move it into place like that. I do think I need to move it over a little bit. Nope, this stuff is going to hold on to it too well. But these small pieces. This stuff is actually a little sticky. And the problem is, if I peel it up, it's going to then be in sort of a peeled up position instead of a laid down position. That's going to move it over too far. Oh no, maybe it'll do. Well, I was supposed to move it over way more than it did. Right there is the sweet spot. Yeah, this stuff is holding on to it just enough. Although I may need a second piece up top because there's the through-hole pins for the LED are sticking out just enough. I could flush cut those, but not anymore. And I don't want to turn them into little blades because then they'll cut through the solder mask. Sorry, the ground plane. Really, technically, it should move over a little bit more, but that's pretty good. Let's see if we can actually get something to happen here. This is going to be a struggle. Maybe it's something I should have tested on the other board. The one that didn't have components on it. And maybe before I put components on everybody, I should have tested it, but lucky. Maybe we can bridge that little gap. Or not. Hold on. I'm going to push it down flat. Here, let's do this so I can get light in here. I need that light so that I can definitely be sure that this is soldered. That is a small focal length. Everything is out of focus. Now it's brilliantly in focus. Let's move the light in here a little bit. I need one of those hospital overhead lights. The ones that don't cast any shadows. I'm going to get closer with the scope here in just a sec. I think it's working. All right, let's get close. Earthquake! Look at that. It's a little amateur, but it does look like some of them are soldered. Some of them are not. And it seems like cutting just a tiny, tiny bit from the front of this would help out, or just getting closer so that I could get a good look, because I can't really see it. Those don't look soldered. they just simply don't look soldered. I don't know. Sorry, I'm touching the desk, which means it starts to shake. I need to get closer. We can't get any closer without spacers. So let's put a spacer on the microscope. Let's just get like a little closer. Well, we'll do this close. This will be a nice big image. Probably means that this needs to be a little taller. Little arrow and the dot. Click. There you go. Now this is going to be super blurry. Yeah, so this needs to go up a little bit because it doesn't. Well, let's see if we can go like this. Yeah, it's still not going to focus. So I need to put this up on something that's large enough. Maybe the two pieces of backing plastic I can get under this. Move this stuff up out of the way. Stuff everywhere. This will give us some kind of a platform. This was a little close. This was a little close for comfort. What's up, you Timmy? Everything's a little shaky. Just roll with it. All right, that's not quite it yet. I need a little bit more height. Let's see what scrap I have. I can get a piece of scrap wood or something. That thing's got a clamp under it. That thing's got a motors attached to it. Oh, this one right here. This big magneted thing. This is a soft jaw for the vise. Long time no see. Yeah, I guess it is. I don't remember the last time. We're working on a quick mechanical keyboard, the keyboard that I worked on a little while back. Basically, I'm putting QMK on it again. It's just that this time we have a Flexi PCB. And so this is where the rubber meets the road here, is we're soldering to the old microcontroller contacts on the PCB. Oh, great. This is wobbly. This needs to be not wobbly. Principle among features of this is that it needs to not wobble around as I try to use it. Well, right now we're just trying to get the distance on the microscope. There it is. It's just being held down with flux. There is no adhesion at all. I will need to come up with a way to perhaps linish back that edge a little bit and not expose the ground plane beneath all of the pins. Oh boy, this is going to be tough. Electronic music utilizing analog and digital emulations. Oh yeah, all right. It's cool, it's cool. Okay, so this isn't held down at all. And so I need to figure out how to get that solder to bridge. We probably need to get as close as we are right now to it. So I need to figure out, I guess I need to get my Z-axis over here. And I can remove this because it's not actually held in. This is where I ripped the PCB by accident. I was really hoping that this wouldn't be what happened, but we did kind of predict it. This is going to be some careful knife work, and it's going to be up on the thing. And so we'll get this over here. Standing the ears up and soldering it in place vertically. It has to bridge a 0.2 millimeter gap, which I guess the solder might be able to do that. We don't have a ton of bends in this thing, but it would go out and then down, which would mean it's going to be right up at the edge, and I need it to be a little further away from the edge. So it'd probably end up going like up and down. I'm going to try cutting it, and if I royally screw that up, we'll think about the other way. So I need my Z-axis. Well, these two are almost compatible. Darn. There's another thing to 3D print, I guess. All right, so we are closer and closer still. Oh, this is at the very beginning of the travel of my Z-axis. Now this is very, very small. So I don't really know how I'm going to be able to do this. Ugh. Nasty. What the? Jesus. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. So would I be able to bridge it vertically a little bit better? Probably. I could even invert it. It'd be hard, like impossible to solder. But if I went 180 degrees, or you know what I really should have done is put all these pins on the other side of the board. Maybe if these were underneath, or I did pins above and below, but then they would each need a via to connect them. So if these were on the other side of the board, or if the other side of the board didn't have anything on it, and then I could cut, like literally, I could just cut this thing in half. But if I do that, then I'm exposing that ground plane, you see. Invert it and use hot air. I mean, getting the hot air in there would be a challenge, but then it probably would make a good connection. So I think that's our only chance, as far as I know. So we can bring the tube back and just bend around that completely. We'll take the magnification back out too. This is a little too close for our comfort. I can't hold anything stable that's this size. Back up like that. This goes away. Z-axis is a good thing to have. You got to find a nice cheap one. That'll be just a little bit frustrating to use. Flatten these out. I guess it all works. It's just, you know. You're dead, and out of this world. I got that stuck in my head. I've been watching What We Do in the Shadows. Totally stuck in my head. Never gonna leave. Be in my head for a month. I feel like we're using hot air for everything these days. It's lucky enough that hot air stations are cheap these days, but oh my god, my giant dry fingers we used goof off earlier had repercussions. Do it like that. And then lining it up is not going to be easy unless I have just the bend on the very end of the pins, and so I can observe just a little bit of the pins. I can see just a little bit of those pins sticking out, then maybe it'll be easier. It's going to be hard to get it to press in. I'm going to have to use the pin tool and come around from the side, press down on it. We don't get a great observation of what's going on. We're going to try it, though. We got no other options. The only other option that I have right now is redesign the whole thing. Which, you know, that's bound to happen, but then we'll have to revisit the QMK project with a better board that's just a Raspberry Pi chip. The inevitable redo of this project is starting to breathe down our necks. Now, honestly, I've only put like $30 into both of these. The Max 309 is probably the most expensive part. The Pi was $5, the boards were $40. The SOT 23 and resistors were practically free. One danger that we have going into this is that what I'm doing right now is breaking the copper over here. That could easily be breaking the copper. That would be a bad outcome. What I did is to get to some of the parts of our Pi, you have to interface with jumpers. And so I did do just that. I had vias that interface with like ground and the USB and the reset button. Ooh, that is a hard bend in that. I don't like that at all. Complications could be a plus, and if it only glitches on the right way. What? Who have you been talking to? What are you talking about? Who do you know? Who gave you that information? Yeah. Okay, now over to this over here. It's getting more and more cursed as I allow chat to have ideas. Word to the wise for any of you thinking about getting into streaming this stuff. Don't let chat give you ideas. Just don't do it. Very dumb. No, they're not. They're actually usually right. They're usually correct, but I have to save face. I can't let them win. Ugh, that's hideous, but we'll try it. We'll give it a shot. Can't say I didn't try. You know, it probably would have been good to just use a piece of circuit board to bend it against, because that would have given it kind of the soft right angles and stuff. All right, so let's try this. I don't have any stiffener on the ends of these, so these can like bend weird. And I don't want stiffener on them because it could melt during the soldering process. See, now these are way far away from where they need to be. That's going to make it even tougher. Maybe the standing up idea is the one that we do. Oh, that's right. I put that 0 ohms in there to give me a ground connection to the button. I was like, what the hell's going on over there? Where's the circuit board? We lost it. Okay, there it is. Maybe the vertical idea is looking a little better. Because, yeah, they're not going to reach at all if they're this distance away. That's just not going to work. So if we put them to a right angle, let me put them all back at a right angle. It is freezing cold outside. I don't know what's like over with you guys. Idea sharks with lasers on their freaking heads. I thought you were giving me a merch idea, t-shirts with lasers on their heads. I was like, that's a good merch idea. I don't know how it's going to work, but that's a good merch idea. Freaking t-shirts with lasers. -13. Oh my God. Yeah, we're not. Okay, so the Northeast is very cold right now. I'm in Madrid now and it's still cold. We were at like 18 degrees this morning, which is horrible to walk a corgi in. And I guess it's by virtue of the fact that she has her 2 coats working for her. She's a dog with many coats. She has her 2 coats and she's a fluffy. She is able to withstand this cold better than anything I've ever seen. And so she was out there just having the time of her life. She had no issues with the temperature. But my face hurt. Like, my face was pain. I should have put on a scarf. I'm just in the 9s. Well, you dress to them as well. You're looking very sharp. All right. Donk. Okay, let's try this now vertical. This is the third, well, the second idea, but the third attempt. This one is just going to have them going down like that. Ah, dress to the 3s. Dress to the 9s like a rating system. Is that what that's supposed to be? Is that a solder bridge? That's either flux or a solder bridge. Let us defeat it before it becomes a problem. And then I'm going to take solder braid to this to remove all the excess so we can get this as close as possible. -3 in Boston. Damn. Presumably the iron is still on. Okay. All right, so this is some advanced shit that we're doing here today. I mean, this is not easy. It's not typical. It's fun. It's challenging. That's why we're doing it. Those are tinned. This is what tinning is. So what I just did was I tinned the leads. Tinning is when you add solder specifically to coat the bare copper, and that's what we have here. So pre-tinning wire, you want to have an excess of solder because that excess of solder is going to flow into both joints and it's going to give you a nice strong connection. Tinning, when you're dealing with surface mount electronics, is simply that base coat. So what I do is I bring in the desolder braid, and the desolder braid will wick away any excess solder using surface tension and the capillary effect. But what it won't do is remove all of the solder because there is a semi-molecular mechanical bond. There is a mechanical bond. It is on the molecular level. It's like crystals holding onto crystals. And that's going to remain there forever. The only way that I can get back down to copper is if I were to take something abrasive like sandpaper and go over all of these pins. Oh, the rest of my prescription is ready for pickup. Okay, but yeah, so we are tinning it. We're not gonna leave an excess of solder because we want that ribbon cable or the flat cable to sit flat on all of those pads. Then when I come over with a bunch of solder, it'll bridge the two. Feels like fucking a blind grandma. What? What are you, huh? All right, so anyway, this goes back down on here. Luckily, my double-sided stuff is pretty shitty, so it'll help me align it a bit. Grabbing onto these is going to be difficult. I don't know if I'll have special tools to do it. That's pretty out of alignment down there. Well, then the whole thing moves. Yeah, it's a little higher up than it was before. I could double up on the tape, but I think what I'm going to do is tape it down, and then all of the misalignment will just get eaten by the movement of the cables. That one will be pretty easy to do. I think I can do that one pretty easily. We'll have to just massage it into place a little bit. But it's flexi board, so the board's going to flexi. It's just what it does. Yeah, this will be a little bit Bush League. What you heard is the scraping, probably. Or do you mean by the words that are coming out of my mouth? Because I just read somebody's comment. And I don't know what to make of it. Oh no! I think I see a trace coming up. Or is that just a little thing? It's just a hair. Okay, we're good. Why not use magnet wires? Because I don't want to fuck around with magnet wires because they're really annoying. They're really annoying. They're very, very annoying. We've done it before. To put a spam timer on chat. All right, that the number one soldering iron mistake when you're working with stuff like this, and it's something that you all should know about. If you've got a microscope, you are limiting your field of vision. And when you limit your field of vision and you are positioning something and you've got your iron ready to go, you're holding a hot iron and you're moving stuff around. I'm about to sneeze. I might have to mute. Hold on. You end up poking yourself. Shut up. Shut the fuck. All right. You end up poking yourself with a soldering iron. Gotta be careful about that. Happens every now and then. All right. So get that sufficiently bent and into position. I don't have a side view, not exactly anyway. And the bend is a little bit amateur. Armature. Keep looking up armature porn and finding the weirdest stuff. All right, so I just want to add like a lot of solder to that joint. I'm going to put a lot of flux down too, just to make sure that everything kind of pools up. If you aren't getting injured, are you even soldering? Yes, but also no. You shouldn't be getting regularly injured in this hobby, and if you are, you probably should reevaluate some of your techniques, because it's not hard to not get injured. Burned my bangs a few times while soldering. Oh, so those are the trappings of not having the setup that I have, because I stumbled upon this amazing setup where I've got this camera like in low Earth orbit compared to where my actual stuff is. Here's the camera, here's my stuff. This is what happens when you use a Nikon something or other mount, F mount, and then an F mount to C mount adapter, and then you put your webcam in a Kurokesu enclosure. That works out to be a really good soldering microscope. And so I've got all the room in the world to operate down here, and I've got the monitor up on a stand, right? And so when I'm soldering, I'm bolt upright. I'm looking straight over. I think it's an F mount, actually. I tend to hold the iron up so I don't hit the board and then poke into something else. Yeah, like if I'm using regular magnification, I'm leaning into this. And so I've got my face like right here. And I can totally understand accidentally burning hair in that scenario. All right, let's see if we can actually get this done. See if this actually does something. Not long. It's not that bad because all of my movements are 1080p on the other monitor. One of the setups that I used to use was something called the Scorpion, and that was like an inspection microscope, and it had a stereo view with two lenses. Well, you didn't poke your eyes into lenses. You had this like holographic kind of view of what was going on, and it was awesome. But part of the advantage of that system is that you're bolt upright while using it. So, okay, what was that? That was weird. That should have worked. Oh, there's like all this space. Did that solder down, or did it? I don't think that's soldered. Hold on. Gotta come in here from an angle. It almost looks like some of them soldered. Wait a minute. Yeah, no, it didn't solder at all. All right, so it turns out getting soldered a bridge like this is a little bit more difficult than we thought. Project update. Everything sucks. It's perfect in every way. What's up, Rex? Where's all, oh, my heat's gone. Do you happen to know how an 1176 compressor works? Nope. I don't even know what that's in reference to. Is that audio stuff? Or is it a car? Or we have a number of things we use compressors in. All right, the whole thing wandered. There is a piece of foam under this that I could potentially use. Analog compressor for sound stuff. Interesting. No, I may have heard of it, but it's not ringing any bells. Is it Tubular Bells? It's him. It's the guy. It's Tubular Bells. Oh my God. Ugh. I'm getting mad. So that 2mm line is gonna have to go. Oh, hunting for gear on Reverb and eBay. Nice. That's a dangerous thing to do. Why would you do that? It's like I'm licking power cords with my wallet. This solder will not allow me to bridge. For some reason, it's all shitty right now. What's going on? Why is it terrible? Precast M, I don't know what that is. I'm going to put a smaller tip on here and see if that helps us. Maybe I can go pin by pin and get an excess of solder on each pin. Precast M7, can't buy new stuff. Plugins are expensive thanks to UA. What is UA? It's in Twitch chat, it is up here. Been hunting for 1176. An 1176 compressor. That's all I said. Okay, so I need that to be down against the board, and then I need to go for the individual pin, and I need an excess of solder. So basically, I do not know if this is going to be possible. But that's the fun of it. It's not cooperating. Yeah, Rex, I'm being asked to say what the component name is over here on YouTube. YouTube wants to know. If you're still looking at your computer and not gear, we got a question about what you're looking for. Come on, blob down. Blob down. No, don't blob over. I said blob down, not over. Shit. We don't have any kind of a three-dimensional view of what's going on here, so it's tough to figure out. What if I go over to like this one and we just plant some of these down? Because in order to get the connection, it needs to be just a big old blob that hits both like that. That's what I'm looking for. That might be the secret sauce. Oh, but I need it on the tip of the iron, not on the side. Keep having to clean the iron because this is, I don't know if this is going to work out. I should have done this better. I see you're working on a version 2 of your board. What the fuck happened? Ah! I touched the iron! Ow! I just poked it with my finger. Yeah. One down, 1,600 pins to go. Yeah, see, like that doesn't make the beautiful giant bridge that I see in other things. I think it has to do with the width of the pin. Rex, read all the messages that are vertically up from, because Yatemi is asking about what specific component name. All right, big solder, small solder. I'm going to try to add solder to this and see if I can get it to bridge, but my solder is so awesome that it's not allowing that to happen. Is there like a specific formula for bridging solder? Like that, right there. That was it. That I need to have happen on all of them. But it seems to be a very difficult occurrence. Part of it is probably that this thing isn't laying down flat. That was the only one that was making a connection. See how everything moved? Even this one that I thought was so super good, and I was using it as an example. I was like, look at this one. This one's a shining example of what should happen. And then it went, and it made me look like an asshole. You look like an asshole. It's all misaligned and shit. These are aligned. Why aren't these aligned? Oh, because they're not down all the way. Yeah, I mean, the solution here might be just a little piece of motor wire. Lay it flat and put tons of little pieces of motor wire on this. Let's try again. Let's get all the excess out of here. That or I peel off a little piece of the solder braid. Use that instead. I need the big iron for this in order to remove all this excess. And then maybe, should we get little bits of wire? Magnet wire is probably the wrong choice because the magnet wire is, well, it has the varnish on it. It has a big layer of varnish. That's always very annoying. I mean, I put QMK in the title of the stream, so no, I don't know anything else. I don't know any other options. QMK is like universal. Everybody uses it. It's a Swiss Army knife. I don't know what the Leatherman of the keyboard world is. I don't know shit about keyboards, guys. All I knew is that my keyboard ain't work, and I needed to fix it. So I got to work. Made this little Jim Jam here. This little Jiminy John. This little number. Brought to you by AutoCAD. I do that, and then I use very small wire. We can just plant this thing down. Not what I wanted to do, but what I had to do to get this thing to work, to get version 1 to work. I'm going to lay all this down, and then I'm going to get a wire that doesn't overwhelm the pins. I don't want to make it totally huge. I want it to be just the right size, and so I guess what I'm going to use is this desoldering braid. We're going to unravel some desoldering braid, and we're going to use this exposed copper that has, I think, a little bit of an element of flux to it. What's up, Credit Mike? It would be nice if you were able to bend it right in the solder pad. I can probably do that, but I don't, my bending has been kind of subpar, and we've bent it like 3 times already, so I don't think I want to press my luck. It was something that I've thought about, yes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the solder braid, I'm going to separate it out until I have individual strands. Where's my mouse? Just finished my meetings for the day. Hell yeah, brother. Now, have you had the meetings about the meetings, though? I popped into the What We Do in the Shadows subreddit because I couldn't take it anymore. And I got spoiled on some pretty funny stuff that's going to come up. I don't know any details about it, but I do know that there's something with energy vampires coming up that it's going to be one of the most classic moments of the show, and I'm excited for it. I got to get the individual strands out of this. This is Chemwick. Some desoldering braid is easier to work with than others, but if I can just get a couple strands to kind of stick out, then I can use those to get the connectivity to my pads. I didn't want to have to do it this way, but we're unfortunately kind of forced to. Yeah, I think having them attached at the back is a bad idea. Let's do that. Then I can spread this thing out completely. Yeah, now it becomes completely workable. It's basically a tube of weaved copper strands. And it's like a finger trap. So just keep expanding it with the tweezers and twisting it. Should start to really come apart. You can pull out a few strands now. I said maybe I can pull out a few strands for this thing. Come on. Keyboard. There are other options like ZMK, VIA, or is it ZMK VIA? ZMK VIA, you can find out more in the subreddit Mechanical Keyboard and Ergonomic Mechanical Keyboard as well. There's a plug for the subreddit. I don't use. I don't use that one. There we go. Look at that strand. Look at all that connectivity. That's all we need. That and the dog hair. That's not a dog hair. This might be a couple strands. I think it's one. We'll start with that. We only have a cajillion freaking lines to solder here. And the first one we solder is going to be super fragile. All right, that's 2 strands. So if I can get something to hold that in place, then I can work, but I don't have soldering iron separate. Nah. It's all such a mess. Okay. This is why I hate tacky flux, just for the record. I don't have the super thin Captain tape. That would have really helped me out here. I'm just afraid that I'm going to solder it, and then the wire is going to immediately be broken by the force of this thing trying to move into position. Try it. I need to add solder to both of these pins. I don't have enough hands. Yeah. It's when you want the little strand that you don't get it. But when you don't want it, you get 5 billion of the things. I need to just put that like that. Okay, all right. Get the soldering iron. I don't know, some kind of helping hands would be good today. Yep, I need the needle tip on this. I can't use the big guy. Big guy's not going to help me out here. Chat Brandy soldering. It's not helpful in any way. It just annoys you. Well, the thing is, like, so my interactions with chat, me calling you guys annoying, is pretty predictable from the stream. I mean, in general, like of an engineering stream, you have people who are, you know, the type that watch engineering streams. So they're idea-oriented people who are smart and they know about their particular subjects very well. Chat is very knowledgeable when they in their own, you know, spaces, but they're coming out here and they're looking at your project, and your project is totally different. You know everything about your own project. You know exactly what's going into it. You know where you're headed. You have had the benefit of being present for all of the ideas. And so people will come in and they'll give you ideas based on the information that they have, aka 4 seconds of just opening a stream up and you know, through their not even, you know, through morning encrusted eyeballs, taking a look at your idea and going, you should do this. And so they seem to be fairly unknowledgeable at times because of that. And so it's, you know, benefit of the doubt I like to give. What are you doing here, solder? I need to move this out of the way so I can add just a little bit of solder to this pin. Perfect. It hit the pin that I didn't want it to. That's great. I guess we'll solder that one. How am I going to do this? If I use the soldering iron, maybe I can push it out of the way. That didn't work at all. That was a bad idea. I think work positioning is going to be kind of important here. I need something that can drop down on this and flatten it out. So we're going to need to make some tooling. How is that going to work? I need like something that'll just drop the hammer down on the thing. Something like, let's see. What do I have that positions stuff? Not a lot. I guess maybe some machining stuff's going to be way too hard on it. Maybe someone in YouTube chat can hold that side down, and then this chat can hold the wire. That's getting a little too close for my liking. I'm looking for ideas, seeing what I can find. Any of these magic arm mounts, I don't really have a big piece of metal that they can go to. But then I could drop it down like a finger. It's not really like a finger though. And a lot of the stuff that I'm looking at here is sharp. A lot of it is sharp. Doesn't really push it down the way I want it to. Piece of scrap metal maybe. Not a saw blade. Definitely not a saw blade. And it needs to be about the size of a circuit board. What's that? No, this isn't right. It's just a piece of bar. If I do, I might have, wait a minute, I might have something over here. Just thinking, hold on. let's see. So these guys, those are all cutting implements. Big tweezers, no. Blades, glues. None of that. Why was that sticky? None of that stuff. But a little tiny adjustable wrench. No. This thing is designed to lean, but it's designed to lean a probe down. But if it held on to something flat, like, no, nothing to, that's too thick, that doesn't work. Let's see here. Why are you asking me about amateur porn? What a weird question. Armature porn? What? Wait a minute. No, I don't. I used to have some wire like that, but I don't have it anymore. What the? Yeah. Yeah. No. There we go. Okay, hold on. I'm getting closer to the answer here. Although holding it from this side would be bad. I need to hold it from the other side. I don't think a probe tip will do it. I mean, honestly, like wire is probably the best bet. This isn't going to work either. Well, what do I have? I have desolder braid, but that's not really going to hold anything. That's not long enough for me to like clamp it back. Unless I like soldered it down and then desoldered it later, then it could. No, then it would attach to the thing. Glues, tapes, none of that stuff. A very, very thin piece of Captain tape. Like a really thin piece of this stuff. We could try that. Let's try that. So, get the vise. We don't have the benefit of the microscope here. We can get you guys real close, so then I'll be able to see. All right, and we'll just get a piece of that, and I'll cut it in half. Is that still going to be too thick, though? Yeah. Yeah, that's still going to be too thick. No, there's not enough room for me to do that. This might be cursed. I might have to go back to the drawing board on this and spend another like $50. Mustard. No, that didn't work. Only works for halftime shows. Oh man, I like that design, but redoing this would be fully redoing the design, and then I maybe would have to come up with some kind of a jig so that I can cut those edge wires. The only other way to do this is to somehow attach them flat in a manner where they won't unattach themselves when I heat them up. Because if they're flat, then I can put a little piece of wire on there to coax the solder bridge. Problem is the pins are so thin that a solder bridge isn't kind of like naturally forming. You can, to a degree, like the wider your trace is, the more you can have it bridge over to a similarly wide trace. Unfortunately, these are pins for a controller, a dead microcontroller, and they're just not doing it. I mean, the other thing that I could also do is just bend this more into shape so that it actually lines up properly. Oh boy, that is pure acid. What did I have for lunch? I had a roast beef sandwich. Why would a roast beef sandwich repeat on me so much? Maybe the fat. Ah, damn it, that bent it too much. It's going to be hard to flatten out again. I'm going to flatten this out again. We're going to take another attempt at bending down the different leads. This stuff is a lot stickier than I gave it credit for. It goes on light, and then over time, it becomes extremely sticky. Jeez. Did that ruin the surface at all? It almost did. That's tough. All right, so let's flatten this out again and give it that bend. And maybe if I do a sharp enough up and then over, it'll just lay flat. I mean, this keyboard originally was like $114, but with QMK installed in it, I can do everything that I want with it, and I like the Cherry MX clears. I like them, so I'm not getting rid of this keyboard. This is listen. The point of this is to have a working keyboard that I can spill stuff on and it still works. But the point of this is also that we have content, we have stuff that we've never tried before, and we are expanding our capabilities and our confidence in working with this stuff. So a project is not just the spreadsheet that tells you what everything costs. And in fact, most of the time, you really shouldn't be going over costs. It's not healthy. Oh, that wire was still attached. Oh well. Oh well. Mustard. I like shouting mustard. It's fun. Okay, so a little piece of FR4, but maybe not a full thickness piece. What do I have access to? I have all kinds of little bits of PCB all over the place. The ones that I do have are rather thick, but I think they're the same thickness as this double-sided tape. So it would be a good thing to bend around. Buy a pre-owned Keychron and key swaps and MX. Why? Why are you guys trying to solve my problems in the wrong direction? This is too thin. Need something a little thicker than that. And I guess it'll probably just be PCB material. It's a little thick for my liking. This one thinner? No, these are all just about equal thick. So we'll just use any old piece. This will do fine. Chad is helping. Yeah. Yeah, I guess they are. Oh, yeah, I want to go back the other way. That's going to be tough to do because I can't really maneuver this PCB in everywhere. I guess most of this is going to be like crushed. But if I follow the creases, I guess it'll help. You guys are tilting at windmills like always. Two pieces of PCB? Try the method from before. The only problem with this is that in order to get it to permanently bend, you need to have it go a little bit beyond the 90-degree axis. The windmills were pre-tilted. They came bent. That. The problem is, in order to do that again, I need to get into an area where the PCB is too big to fit. Just cut off a little piece here. Let's use the thin one there for the outside, and then I can cut that little bit off of the end. Still not really going to work all that well. Yeah, it's like I need to go back on the crease and recrease it a little. Just get it over that bend threshold so that it can properly tilt into place. Ugh, all my efforts are for nothing. Use a bigger piece for that. This guy here. Yeah, I guess the only other thing that I could try is bending the pads in half, although I don't know if I have tooling that gets small enough for that. I don't know if I have stuff that's small enough to bend it like that. Just do a 180 at the very end of the FR4. Not FR4, the end of the, whatever it is, Flexi stuff. Flexi waxy stuff. See, that didn't really work at all. I can get it though. We can get that. Now we've worked with this for quite a bit. We've been bending it a lot. And so I'm starting to get a little concerned about internal breakage, whether or not these flexible traces are still in good shape after all this. Not to mention all the trouble getting current in and out of these pads. So like, future revision might involve me, it might involve me. Future revisions might involve me coming back and widening some of these traces, like a lot. This is supposed to be an easy day. They were all supposed to be easy days. This is supposed to be a nice, easy day. If I didn't have to flip the board to do those under pads, I probably could have assembled the whole board. Like I could have tried to get these soldered in and then assemble the whole board. Is there an easy way to probe test the traces? Yeah. When the trace gets to its destination, there's a big pad. And so you poke the pad with a multimeter and you test ohms. And you hope that there isn't an intermittent trace that only occurs when you close the project enclosure. Had that happen before, where when you close the enclosure, it squishes some wires and then breaks a bunch of your connections. That was a tough one. Oh, man. I drove all the way to a friend's place in North Philly. They were in the middle of filming one of those 48-hour movie competitions, and I was supposed to be like, the big relief was, hey, the fire cannon thing is done. All that money you put into it, like $5,000. All that money you put into it is paid off, and we have a box here that can reliably set off solenoids at a distance, synced to MIDI signals, and it's all fire marshal safe and ready, and it looks professional. And I get to their house, and I go to turn it on, and it doesn't work. And it's not that nothing would happen, it's that it kind of worked, but didn't really work. And I went, ha ha ha, I gotta hold on, this has been home, I'm gonna go take a look and see. And so I ended up driving all the way to Philly from the suburbs twice in order to get this thing demoed, and I never really gave them a good demo because I discovered when I closed the lid, it would press on a connector, and that connector would make it not work. Simply spoken. Yeah, see, they still don't sit back a little bit. They need to sit back a little bit. So I need to kind of fold them in. Mustard. Da, 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 da. Nice of him to give his producer credit. Okay, so we're going to try to tuck these back and under. Now these are at the height of the foam, so everything is stuck down nicely. So now I can get my tweezies in there, and I can just pack this in, hopefully without breaking anything. This is originally how it was supposed to go down, and it was supposed to be nice and easy, but it never is. There, see, just like that. And now it just sits there. Now it might be elevated a little bit from the board, but now there's no chance that I can get soldered a bridge. We've tried a bunch of different times to have this bridge. It really is not a big gap, but apparently it just doesn't like the bridge. If I go individual pin, I might be able to get that to work. Hold on a second. I'm having an idea. Lots of solder in reserve. Press this down. So the adjacent connection is messing me up right now. They'll gladly connect to each other, but the one that's right in front of it, okay, so that'll hold it in place. That's what I meant to do. I meant to hold it in place. Cutting it back a little, I can't cut it on that scale. It's too small. I was looking at that when we zoomed in earlier on it. Just too small. I would like to cut it back. If I cut it back too much, what do you call it? Cut it back too much, the ground plane underneath the pin is going to become an issue. Copper's back. What's up, Copper? What's up? What do you want from me? What are you doing? What is this? What is this? Oh God, it just immediately went to the pin next to it. It is not quite, you know, solder bridges across stuff can be unpredictable, I guess. Yeah, it makes a wonderful joint to the pin next to it. It's the width of the traces that aren't really helping me out here. It's almost, you know, all that fiddling to get one. But no, but then it goes to its neighbor. As soon as I add, I think you guys don't understand how small this is. Why is it off by so much? Oh my God. Hold on, we gotta fix that. Okay, that's aligned. No, flux would not help because all flux is going to do is drive the solder into pooling and not bridging. Yeah, this is tough. That's just not separating. Look what happens when I add flux. So where's the flux pen? There it is. Just a little drop of dog hair. That didn't do anything. Okay, there's that. Yeah, I think that gap is asking for a lot. So we can do the desoldering braid method again, because now things are laying flat where they should. I can just do the big blob of solder to hold on part of the cable, and then we can get a bunch of wires going. And once we have enough mechanical stuff down, we can then remove the big blob. Yeah, I'm using the pencil tip right now. Oh, I didn't want to have to do it this way. This is going to be a lot of work. Get out of there, wire. Come on, come with me. Damn it. This solder braid is not as easy to break up. Let me use a pin tool to help. I'll just pull it apart like pork. I gotta make pulled pork. Hey, what's up, Gonad? How you doing? Somebody mentioned Tom Thinks earlier. I think somebody did. I was tempted to mention Gonad got a bunch of his merch. I have his coffee cup. Orb coffee cup. I should do a merch store, but I'm not really that popular. So we are pulling apart our solder braid in order to make little tiny wires, because the 0.2 millimeter gap that I left on this board is not enough for the solder to... What in the hell? Oh, this is all the flux that dripped off of the solder braid as I was working with it. That's the internal solder braid flux. That'll all melt down as soon as we start using it. Unsolicited duck pics. Yeah, unfortunately, I've got to add little tiny pieces of wire to this because the pins are so thin that they don't solder bridge in that direction. They love to go horizontally, but they don't go vertically. I really cannot get a grip on these. What do I have that's like grippy on a micro scale? The sharp tweezers, where are those? Here they are. Also magnetic. Look at that. Even my tweezers don't work. What is this? Some kind of comedy? What is... They're magnetic, so these leads are picking up onto them and then becoming like a stick in the mouth. These are like hair pulling tweezers. They're beauty tweezers. Why is that so fixed in there? I don't understand. There we go. That's all I wanted. Just a couple strands of copper. The scale of everything that you're looking at is far and beyond what we normally work with. So this is fairly challenging for your intrepid streamer to operate with. It's not unheard of for me to work on this scale, but it is difficult. Asteroid chances are up to 3.1. Oh God, that's the next apocalypse that's coming our way. We've already had second apocalypse. I don't even know if the apocalypse knows about 11Zs. Free meteorite sword. So you can just toss it in the ocean? What was that? What just happened? Index C, subbing for 46 months. Oh, Index C, thank you. Hey, that's mighty fine of you to do. You're having a lot of trouble with this, a lot of unexpected trouble, and I could have probably nipped it in the bud during the design phase, but I've never done this before, so it's just one of those things. This is now stuck with flux. Ugh. I hate you, Tacky Flux. I hate you so much. No, it went exactly the wrong way. That is just not, that's just not cooperating. You get back over here. Come on. Oh my God. Just the worst. Okay, wait, no, then the tweezers stuck to it and tweaked it. Perhaps I need a different pair of tweezers to do this. All right, different tweezers. Let's try, not the beauty tweezers. I need it to have a light touch, but I need it to be very pointy. So maybe these flat jobbies, if they can grip properly. I don't know if they'll grip right. Oh, here we go. These might do. Well, it's these or these. These are these. These might be the ticket. Oh, just get this fucking shit out of my... Fuck! Alright. Get this shit out of my fuck. Okay, I'm back. I'm back with a different pair of tweezers that are going to be unfamiliar to me, but they are going to be accurate and clean enough that they should be able to get everything. The soldering is tiny, tensions are running high. Okay, these are requiring too much force to close. They use too much metal on these. So I can't get a really good sense for how much I'm pinching because of all of the additional force that's being put back into my hand. See, like that wire just keeps trying to sneak its way over to where it shouldn't be. I guess I can use the knife. I could metal fatigue it, but I don't know how much this stuff metal fatigues before it blows up. This is going to be a lot of this work. I'm going to have to do a lot of this little soldering. It's, you know, that or I go back to the drawing board and redesign it in Fusion 360. I haven't gotten an email back. I actually sent the email. I got over my own introversion. I sent the email and said, hey, my copy is like going to expire in like 2 days. Like, hey, I've been doing the sponsored ad thing. Yeesh. Every tiny movement is a mistake in this. So, what the fuck is that? What is going on there? It's like the end of the wire just decided that it would buddy-buddy with the one next to it. Okay, and that just broke off. We gotta get closer. I need a closer view of this. This is really annoying me. Okay, so the thing is, these are like beauty tweezers, and they are meant to work with things that are hair thin. But compared to my normal tweezers, these are a lot more springy than this is. This has very little force in order to flatten it, which is why I work so well with this. I know how much pressure I'm putting in. When there's a big spring pushing me back, it's very hard to tell. I need these to be slightly thinner, but I need that same really, really nicely machined end, because that real nice machined end is golden. It really helps me grip on stuff evenly. I could spend a whole day shopping for tweezers. That flux that we accidentally leaked all over everything really kind of messed up this area, didn't it? It looks like a bomb went off. What the? That's all just flux, though. Oh, I keep bashing the camera because it's low down. Down low. I would put like a rubber band around it. It would loosen it up a little bit. I didn't mean for this to be an entirely soldering stream. I know it attracts viewers, but oh my God, I wiggled, my hand wiggled just a tiny bit. All right, get out of there. You get back to where you go. Whew. The flux party went bad. It's just from the picking apart the desoldering braid. Apparently it's got a flaky flux in it. Okay. Flummoxed, flaky, flacky, flummo. Flamarum, flamorium, flamulatum. Okay, I guess the knife isn't exactly as elegant as it could be. It's one of the knife tips that are already broken off, so. I am cleaning up the floor. This is ridiculous. Hold on, I'm putting my little strand over there. I'm getting a Q-tip, and I'm cleaning this up. Look at this crap. This is for when we drag soldered the whole thing. I wanted a lot of flux on there so that stuff wouldn't get too familiar with each other. But again, if you're bridging a solder gap, you want a wide area, not a thin area. It won't tend to bridge over that thin area. Oh, that was a really hard burp. Ooh. Hold the line, upper stomach sphincter. Jeez. Is that screen how your pipe? I don't know what that... Yeah, it's the surface area that really helps it kind of bond to everything around it. Oops. Oh, that was a squirt. Nice and clean. Nice and clean, nice and clean. Clean, clean, clean. Clean, 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 clean. No more dust. There we go. I just feel better about that. That's all that is. There we are. Okay, unfortunately, this is going to be a massive amount of work. I guess the next version I will make it so that there is no ground underneath these so that I can just cut straight across them. Yeah, it always does. That's the power of acetone. That's the power of goof off. You know, people question my methods so much on this stream. I don't think they realize how long I've been working with this stuff and how successful I am in things people should not be successful in. You know, first time builds working, just abject horrors, things mankind was never meant to do. I have gotten working through sheer skill, and I get questioned a lot on my methods. You should all be bowing down to me. Oh my God, these are so taut. I hate them. They're the only thing with an accurate enough jaw for me to work with, but like, okay, get a massive finger down there. Try to straighten one of these out. What time is it? Oh, it's only 3. I need this to be separate from the cluster. Too hard to work with all this stuff hanging out. Mustard. No. Well, that's going to be stuck in my head because I'm mad at you. Maybe if I try the one that's flat along the ground at an angle. Neuropathy! The way you work with that magnet wire is not like this. Like if you're wrapping the magnet wire, you can get syringes and lure locks. Okay, this is even more cursed than the other one. I don't know why. I despise these tweezers. I am so mad. Come over here. Get in my belly. What the fuck? Then it just drops away. Would you just? It's not like I can unbend it. I don't have the width. That one already has one on it. We're going for this one. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that it's leaning up against that. Grab it. My hand is burning. I've been getting a little neuropathy in my left hand. Usually when I get it, it's about time to just start exercising again. I haven't really done that. Don't know if that's soldered. There's not much solder on that pad. So I'm going to try to add a little bit of solder without ruining the whole thing, and I'm going to ruin the whole thing. Because my solder reel is too thick. Woo! That was a close one. Let's put a little pre-solder on these. Yeah. Not really supposed to pre-solder stuff, but in this case, kind of need it. Like that bridge, I just can't get to happen. Yeah, making the bother tweezers. Yeah, it'd be cool to have on like my merch store. Have like my signature tweezer. It's like all these chef channels that have their signature knife. Ooh, I hit the I gotta put this thing away. That's the tip refurbisher. Problem is, the more I plunge this tip into the dry sponge, is the more it gets damaged. I would buy it. I appreciate that, but I don't know if I trust my own tweezers. Bother Tech soldering tips. It'd be just some shitty white label product. It's like a pair of plastic tweezers. That was insane. All I did was bump up against it with a knife and it broke off. When you work this small, things just happen differently. This has been bugging me. This piece right here. I don't know how to get rid of it. Nope, picked up the wrong one. God damn it. Need these to be a little bit more consistent with their tip. And be able to pick up stuff at a pinpoint. What other tweezers do I have for that? Bring back these guys. The round end of these means that I'm able to pick stuff up off of the surface. Get that out of there. Don't want it anywhere near. What if I use these tweezers? Oh, God damn it. Where did it go? Patience is a virtue. Patience. You must have patience. Clarence, you have to make it for Mother. Clarence, please be strong. Okay. I am more patient than you, chat. Okay. Wait, did that break off? No, it's still connected. Pencil tip is a little bit of a bastard. So now I want to pull on the wire a little bit. Straighten it out. Open source surgical tools? And you could just buy surgical tools. Okay, I just pulled that and it broke off. You can buy surgical tools on Amazon. That's where I get all my stuff. Dental tools are just clay working tools. The only problem with this setup that I got going right now, and there's not many problems with it, the only problem that I got going with it is that the pins, all the through-hole stuff on the keyboard is poking into my hand. That one I want to make sure it breaks in the right spot. Yeah, AliExpress is a ton of them. Or you just run out of your dentist's office with them. Going whoop, 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 whoop. That's so weird. All I have to do is put it into that little area right there, the little tontoed tip, and I have to push upwards and it severs it. Yeah, those robotic surgery tools are amazing. I could use a couple of those. I could use a Da Vinci. I'm sure it's pretty cheap. Then I could stream directly from the beach. Sitting there with a Mai Tai, doing this. I'd be like, I only spent $70 million so that I could fix my keyboard. That laser welder that was posted to the Discord is something that I am like drooling over. I want that laser welder. That thing is so fucking awesome. So cool. I know it's probably not better than a normal welder in any way, but it has lasers. It's so cool. Maybe they could sponsor me. It's like $30,000. I think you're not getting out of the door with one of those for less than 20K. It's got just a ton of these high power diode lasers are getting crazy these days. You don't need a tube in order to do anything anymore. So diode lasers are so crazy that people are grouping them up together and making these small non-industrial laser welders. And you get like that beautiful laser weld, that beautifully controllable laser weld. Oh my God, it's so cool. I would do car fixing streams if I got one of those because I need to fix my car. My car has a little bit of chronic rust on the bottom, on the pan. It's actually not a hard fix. You need some specialty things like a thing that sprays wax into the panel, but it is very fixable. All right, so now we can get rid of the excess solder on these pins that were anchoring this thing. Overall, I think we did okay. I want to kind of poke at this up here. Okay, I need to visit that with the iron. Apparently, another trick to doing this is dipping the wire in desolder, sorry, in solder paste. But these little, what do you call it? The little wire that I'm using from desoldering braid is not up to the task of being poked into anything. It is too thin, but it has been exposed to flux, so it is tinning very nicely. All right, deep breath. Everything's shaking. See, the small amount of muscle power that it takes to clamp down on these tweezers means that I'm also shaking less. Less fatigue, less shaking, better work. Higher angle. The smaller you solder, the more musculature it's going to take on your part. Because muscles have to fight muscles in order to steady themselves. So go to the gym, work out that upper body. Better glucose control, more focus. I'm a giant fat ass though. I need to go back to the gym for a bit. I need to trim up. If I could have gotten back on testosterone, external testosterone, I could build the muscle that it'll take to lose all the weight. I've done it before. But, all right, that's looking real ugly. I gotta clean that up. Okay, we over cleaned it and it's all shit. Look, it's not flowing. You just put a little dollop of flux on there. I'm skipping solder day, yeah. Oh my God, this gets nastier every time I put it down. I need like a holder for that's full of dog hair. All right, so I do need to separate them. Refrigerator. What was that? It was like a mid-roll TV thing from a million years ago. This is weird. It must have been an ad for something. But I can't for the life of me remember what. I don't think it said what it was an ad for. It's just this little refrigerator. Little cartoon dude going through the fridge. All right, there. I don't know if there's a usable amount of wire on the end of that thing, but I guess we'll try. So I just need to take the tweezers. Yeah, all that gross stuff will clean up when we get a goof off on it. If we goof off on it. Don't goof off on your electronics, all right? Nasty. Oh my God, just get under that. Please, just get under it. Why is it so flush with this PCB? This is ridiculous. Fine, whatever. Yeah. Make sure that's separated here. Oh, and then I bent the end there. Okay, I guess we're working from this end. I'm getting a new piece. That's too much. That's too much. I had it. There it is. Oh dear God, this is tedious. Sorry, everybody. Yeah. It's like the size of my whole screen. How are you having trouble with this? It looks like a metal pipe. It's nice being able to see everything. I can't pinch this with my hand. How do I straighten it out? Okay, now it's gone. I can't, when I look down, it's not there. It's not here. There it is. Usually I can manipulate the wire that we use to do this job with my fingertips, right? I could just kind of mess with it. I can't do that with this. It's too small. Really not being time efficient with this either. This is taking a calendar year. All right, which one are we on? We're on this one. I'll have to cut that a little end without severing the trace. All right, so to get that little end, come in like this. Oh, come on. Why is it always like turbo effort for everything that I do? This is supposed to be like an easy operation. Joop, 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 get this all done, throw the code onto the micro, and then, you know, move on with our lives. But instead, it's a massive soldering operation to get all this stuff sorted out. And I guess I've got to do it because I want to uncover any errors that I have on my board that are not related to this specific mistake or issue. Like if I can get this fully working, then I can jump into the next iteration of the design, knowing all the things that I know now and being able to actually like make something that has all of my ideas at once instead of, you know, oops, I didn't do this or oops, I didn't do that, and then have 2 mistakes and have 2 revisions of the board. So this is a cold solder joint is what's going on. So I can't get any force into specifically bending the end. All right, so maybe now, come in here with the pin tool, just hassle it a little bit. Hey man, what are you doing here? Where are you going? What do you got? Can I see that? Yeah, there we go. Hassled it into moving. All right, now grab this part that's hopefully sticking up from the board a little bit. Let's force it a little bit. All right, now it's sticking up and I can actually grab it. I can do, oh, we gotta bend this one back down. Okay. Then I can come in here and just give this one a little boop. There we go. 2 more to go. Oh, 1 more to go. Okay. Bend her down over there. Need more of a claw grip so I don't hit anything else on the board. That's fine. A little bit smushed, but it's fine. Oh. Third pad from the ring. Down here. This one has a wire. This one has a wire. That one does not have a wire. What? Kind of looks like, no, it doesn't. Okay, this one. Where'd the wire go? Boy, I'm really gonna have to clean off this thing, aren't I? There's little bits of wire everywhere. Where did the wire go? This nice big piece of wire. Where is it? Where did it go? I can't, it's too small for me to see with my eyeballs, my earballs. Oh my God, am I really gonna do all this? This is a lot. This is a lot to deal with. It's not still on the tweezers? No. Yeah, I don't see that wire nowhere. Fall down. There's a little bit right there that I could use. A little tiny piece right here. Okay, let's go to the microscope. Ah, so much work. This might be too much work. Oh, no, that's the same piece of wire. I thought it was stuck to a different part of the tweezers. I can't pull because these tweezers aren't actually, I don't know what it is. I need to find like a really good pair of scissors. I don't know who gets, not scissors, sorry, tweezers. Are there like brain surgery tweezers that I should be looking for? There probably are. They're probably like $70. And, you know, if you actually get brain surgery with them, they're probably thousands of dollars. Well, so redesigning this is not going to take much. Rebuilding the PCB is not going to take much. It is, you know, time is money and all that, but How much should I struggle to get this idea right? Because like if I correct this and I make it so that I just run the blade along the tip and cut these pads and then drag solder the whole thing. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously I can do my sponsored stream for that. Because then I don't have to run 10,000 of these little guys in order to correct it. Maybe we should go back to the drawing board on this one. I think maybe the amount of work is going to be a little bit extreme. I still have these two parts and I know their positions are exact and I know everything is in the right spot. Maybe we do a V2 of this because that's tedious. I feel that I have proven myself to you, my chat, about my relative skill in miniature soldering, but do I really need to belabor the point? And I think maybe I go back to the drawing board on this one and I pull back that ground plane just a little bit from there. All it needs is a box to tell it not to put the ground plane on that area. Yeah, I think so. Okay, I'm putting keyboards aside for now, but I will. I do want to get that because this is my spare keyboard. We will push forward with that design where I put just the RPi 2040 chip down there, and I'll have to look up what I need in order to run just the bare chip. I have just the bare chip on hand. I have some of them. I ordered some of them. Somewhat in the back of my mind, knowing that we would get here with this project, is that, yeah. I think the method of bending it using a little piece of circuit board works perfectly fine. I think that gets it into just a nice little position where I can get it soldered. If I leave a little bit exposed so that I can run the knife across that and sever it with just a nice sharp edge, then I think it'll be good. More grime making it uneven. So we're back to the drawing board on that one. The mixer, we're also back to the drawing board on because the direction of the knobs is the opposite of what it should be. However, I can get my demo to Julian and he can give me any feedback. If everything is perfect, I'll be super happy, but I doubt it will be. He'll have something. There will be something that he doesn't like about it and that I'll have to correct, and it'll be a huge ordeal because this is only a 2-layer circuit board for the mixer, and so it's going to cause everything to go crazy, right? I should shave the back of my head. It's too much mullet back there. Okay, well, that was an annoying stream. We learned a lot today, though. We learned about surface tension and solder and how to bridge things. It's possible that I could correct this still by folding the thing so that the pad is like that and then soldering all the fronts. Because that might actually work. How would I do it though? How would I fold that back? Controlling that would be very difficult. I don't know how I'd necessarily get that done. So those are some ideas, but other than that, I'm fresh out. Everything is, my hands hurt. Especially the bottom of this hand because it's sitting against the through-hole pads. That was too much effort. I will go back on this and you know, desolder it. It'll desolder in a half a second. Yeah, folding it like in the middle of the solder pad. That's tough to do. I don't know how I'd do that. It's hard to control. I can't just like clamp it with a pair of pliers. I can't put it in a vise. I need like a bending form that's very thin that won't break. I don't know what that would be though. Everything I have would just break. Like a pin tool. Pin tool's too thick. Everything's too thick. I'm looking around and seeing, I'm thinking about what I have. I don't know if I have the right thing. No, not the X-Acto blade. That'll just cut it. Even the back of the X-Acto blade, I'd be a little cautious about. Plus, I don't want to fold it over a blade. I'm going to cut myself. I guess I could manage it somehow, but I don't like the prospects in that. I don't think that the X-Acto blade's got a little bit of thickness on it too. It's also a scalpel blade. Not an X-Acto. It's not an X-Acto. You should be saying the San Morton number 10A. But I guess you could bend it across that. That's pretty thin and strong. I don't know. Here's the end card. I'm going to be back on Thursday. Thinking about valve shims. Where is that tool? Do I have a set of shims? I don't think I do. I have shims? I don't think I have shims. I don't think I have a set. Plastic razor blade. I have one of those around here somewhere. It's like a glass scraping blade. I don't know where it is. It might be, no, it's not in there. Back of this thing isn't that thin. This is as thin as the where's my, this is the spudger. I guess that's pretty thin. Yeah, those are the same thing. All right. Listen, there's not a shortage of ideas. Yeah, all right. I don't know. I'm not gonna do the bending. Maybe I might try the bending thing off air and check back in, and we'll see if it works. But I'm totally spent. Doing stuff on this scale takes a bit out of you. It takes a bit out of you. My hands are kind of tired, and my eyes are definitely tired from, like, is that a shadow, or is that not as tired as they would be if I was doing this like just with my eyeballs and magnification on my eyeballs, because that gets really tiring because you're like bending over stuff. But even still, it's tough work, and you got to kind of keep your hands steady for the whole thing, and that gets difficult. But the cure for that is looking at the sun for more than a minute without blinking your eyes. No, I mean going outside and walking around in the ice-cold tundra that it is in the Northeast right now, and touching grass, even though the grass will cut you at this point because it's all frozen. But I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go for a little walk, get the blood circulating. Maybe, yes, sleep, as if I ever do that. Maybe I'll come up with something tomorrow, or maybe I'll just try one of these methods that we discussed, see if that'll work. I got nothing to lose. The pads are pretty well stuck onto the code FR4 board. My circuit is completely disposable at this point because the next iteration of it is going to be a total redesign. A total redesign except for the couple parts that I need to modify and put into the right position. And then I can make a much smaller board. Maybe that'll go back, maybe that'll go down a little better than this one. So I guess stay tuned for that. It's not going to be a difficult build. Running the traces might be a little bit iffy, and it might require some rearranging of circuit structures. But other than that, I think it should be pretty good. And I will catch you guys on Thursday. We will work on maybe this, maybe something else. I have some very basic work that I want to do for the modular synthesizer, like making distribution panels with these things. So stay tuned for that. And I guess I will get back to you guys when I get back to you. I'll definitely call you back, though. Here is the end card. I can't even get to my keyboard. There's like a glass of water and a bunch of panels sitting in front of it. Such is the life of the shop computer. Eventually, one of my pieces of hardware is going to blow up. I'll have a panic attack, and then I will redo part of the stream. Because I've got stream stuff that I still want to do that's still on my list. Emotes, VTuber maybe. I need to tech my gaming setup so that we can do a Saturday gaming stream. I'll need to find a game for that. Maybe we do Long Drive. I don't know. We'll see. You know, these ideas are always floating around, and you guys are very kind to support this sort of crazy person in his endeavors. But yeah, we're going to keep doing interesting stuff. We're getting back to burn the subs. I just need to be... Do you seem more like a PNG tuber instead of a VTuber? Well, Pixie Chemith made me a VTuber model, and I have nothing but camera equipment, man. So I can just hook that up to VTube Studio and have, you know, the fully fledged mouth-moving VTuber. It's just the bother remote. Just put myself smaller than usual in the corner there. But if I were to do a PNG tube, I'd probably want to have one of those like chewing mouth animations. I should talk to Tom and be like, hey, Tom, can I get like a VTuber model or a PNG tuber model that moves the mouth in a more dynamic way, and then somehow make a piece of software to animate it? Why does everything become a big project? All right, I'm going to go before we have too big of a project. on our hands. Thank you guys for joining me. I will be back on Thursday.